Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you here. It's a regular meeting of the Pacific Grove City Council, maybe not so regular as we're ending one council and we're starting off with a new council. We'll have those ceremonies in just a few minutes. It's Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. It's 6 p.m. I call the meeting to order. And Ms. Kendall, will you give us a roll call?
Mayor Peak,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Here.
First Coletti,
Here.
McAdams,
Here.
Paduri,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
and Tomlinson. All present.
And the first order of business is remote teleconferencing AB 361. Ms. Kendall.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, staff, and members of the public. Assembly Bill 361 requires the city within 30 days of holding a virtual meeting for the first time and every 30 days thereafter to make a findings ratifying the state of the emergency. Council ratified Resolution 21-029 on October 6, 2021, and has ratified it monthly since. Staff recommends the council approve the recommended action ratifying the said resolution authorizing remote teleconference meetings of all city legislative bodies for the following 30 days in accord with the Ralph M. Brown Act. This concludes staff report.
So may I have a motion
Make a motion to approve. Second.
and a vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Councilmembers Coletti.
Aye.
McAdams,
Aye.
Paduri.
Aye.
And Tomlinson.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
I note that I overlooked public comment. If anyone wishes to make a comment, please do so now. Please come to the podium. Apologies for. Pardon? This is AB 361. This is teleconferencing. This is no, not yet. Sorry. For the confusion. Yeah.
No public online, sir.
All right, moving on, we'll go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Pro Tem Emilio.
States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to approve the agenda
Second.
and a vote, please.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Councilmembers Tomlinson,
Aye.
Paduri.
Aye.
McAdams,
Aye.
Coletti.
Aye.
And Mayor Peak.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0 to approve the agenda.
The next item is 2A, declaring results of the November 8th, 2022 general election. Ms. Lindstrom.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the public. My staff report includes a resolution to declare the results of the November 8, 2022 municipal election. City Charter Article 9 requires results of the municipal elections to be declared by action of the council at its first public meeting after certification of the election results. California Elections Code 10263 requires council to declare elected the persons for whom the highest number of votes were cast for each office. Adoption of the resolution will accomplish this declaration. The statement of votes cast certifies the re-election of Bill Peak as mayor, the election of Debbie Beck and Lori McDonald, and the re-election of Joe Emilio as council members to our city council. Additionally, Measure M and N passed by a majority vote by the people of the city of Pacific Grove. Staff's recommendation is to approve the resolution declaring the results of the November 8, 2022 municipal election. This concludes staff's report.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
No recommendation.
I think we had a hiccup.
I'm happy to second that.
All right, and a vote, please.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams,
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Councilmembers Coletti.
Aye.
Maturi,
Aye.
and Tomlinson.
Aye.
Carries 7-0.
Next agenda item is oaths of office for elected officials. Ms. Lindstrom.
Honorable Mayor, council members, and the public. No council action is required. As Deputy City Clerk, I will administer oaths to Mayor-elect Peak first, and then to council members-elect Emilio, Beck, and McDonald. Thank you.
What I suggest we do, Mr. Harvey, if that's okay with you, would do the certificates of appreciation first, and then we'll do the oaths of office.
Thank you, Mayor. That sounds like a good plan. And this microphone is working? Okay, that's also good. May I please ask Councilmember McAdams to join me? I'm not sure where you're going to put this, but I want you, this is for you. Yes, you do. That's. Okay, I don't do this very often. We don't change leaders very often, but this is that occasion. So it's a bittersweet time. It's one of celebration, but it's one of departure. And so I'd like to say a few words about Councilmember McAdams, and I'd like to give you the opportunity if you'd like to say a few words too. And then when we're finished, I'll call up Councilmember Tomlinson. Okay. So Councilmember McAdams was elected to the City Council in 2018. She has served as a City Council's representative to the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments. She has served as the liaison to the Economic Development Commission. She is an alternate to the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary Advisory Council. She is a liaison to the Monterey County Business Council. She served on the Housing Advisory Group, and she served on the Environmental Quality Policy Committee for the League of California Cities. There are many things that Councilmember McAdams accomplished during her tenure, so I'm just going to highlight a couple, and perhaps the council member would like to add some if I leave some out that you wanted me to mention. What comes to mind for me is the formalization and support of Pride Month, short-term rental enforcement assistant and ordinance enhancement, and the landmark initiative that led to the creation of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DEI Task Force. Councilmember McAdams has distinguished herself while she's been on the council through her thorough research and preparedness, her advocacy for the unrepresented or the underrepresented, and her courage in the face of opposition. I will miss Jenny for her laugh and her empathy, among many other things. Thank you, Jenny, for your service. Your turn.
Thank you. It has been an honor to serve you, my neighbors, during my term on the Pacific Grove City Council. I worked tirelessly during these last 4 years advocating for families, renters, diversity, and representing a voice at the city that is not always considered when making decisions. This was my purpose when I ran for office. As I reflect on my term and the good work that has been accomplished, I'm humbled by the support I have received. Some of the accomplishments I'm most proud of, actually, Ben, you highlighted several of them, but leading on the successful allocation of CARES Act funding towards renters assistance and the city's Parks and Recreation Department. We ensured pandemic business recovery, which included outdoor dining, waived fees, and a Pacific Grove small business grant program, established a recreation program scholarship for income qualified families, and authored amendments that made permanent our city safe parking program. I am very grateful for this opportunity to work with my extremely talented colleagues behind me. 2 years and 4 years is a long time to work intimately with a group.
not always agreeing, but in the end, we were able to make concessions and have some really hard conversations that where the final outcome was some meaningful work for the city. A huge show of gratitude to our incredible city staff, our police department, and all of the departments at the city that make it function and provide impeccable service to our community. Thank you to our passionate residents who have respectfully shared their views and suggestions, sometimes not so respectfully, but in the end, you know, we all love the city of Pacific Grove, and that is our commonality. I would like to thank my family and friends for their support. It truly takes a village. And to my partner and my kids, I love you so much. I will be home more. I won't be on Zoom meetings all the time or my cell phone, I promise. And just really in closing, we are in a critical time to continue the good work towards justice, equity, and preserving our democracy. Local representation matters, and holding our electeds accountable is key to the success of functioning and equitable leadership. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve this amazing city, and I'm truly passionate. And thank you to the residents who are just as equally passionate. Oh, yeah, sure.
Check. This is for you. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Jenny. She's already, there she is. Okay. Now we're going to be talking about Councilmember Amy Tomlinson. So let me say a few words. Amy Tomlinson was elected to the City Council in 2018. She has served as a council representative to the California Joint Powers Insurance Authority, the Central Coast Community Energy on the, or 3CE on the Primary Policy Board, and as a liaison to our Recreation Board. Again, I'm just going to give a small list of highlights of some of the contributions that Councilmember Tomlinson has made, and she may wish to state some others. But some that she has accomplished while on the City Council are establishing policy and direction for city entitlement water and the local water project, improving city recreation offerings and initiatives, including the proposed skate park effort, fiscal leadership, including ARPA funding and the budget process. Councilmember Tomlinson has distinguished herself while she's on the City Council through her collaboration with her colleagues, her consideration of different perspectives, and her willingness at a moment's notice to roll up her sleeves to perform detailed analysis. I will miss Amy for her smile and her grace, among many other things. So thank you.
I'm very excited about those flowers. Thank you. And I think you got my husband out of the doghouse for not getting me flowers. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I'll start by saying, you know, I really, all I prepared was a list of people to thank. So please bear with me, but I'm going to start with the most important, which is my family, my husband, Warren, and Alex and Katie. I can't thank you enough. From the day I came home in the summer of 18 and said, I want to run for city council. There's some people in the room who are responsible for that, planting that seed. and what it was going to take to figure out how to run a campaign, how to get yourself elected. That's a whole process. They went door to door with me. They said, I'm here for you. I support you. From the second the idea came in the door at our home. And then once I got elected, sitting on the Zoom meetings, being in away in the evenings, the kids, they just learned to kind of stay out of the way and be able to allow me to serve the community. And so I thank you, all three of you, for your support and effort. And, this service that I was able to give was 100% because of your endless support. So thank you to my family. I want to thank former council members who aren't here, to Mayor or City Council Member Garfield and Robert Hewitt, because I look back on when I first started, and coming from not having served in city government and served on a board or a commission to begin with, I was drinking from a fire hose joining council from the very beginning. And having them on council and all of you too who were here just really welcomed me and opened arms and onboarding me and helping me figure out my way. So the teaching, the welcoming, I really appreciate that. To the current council members, I've really enjoyed our time, and Jenny's not up there anymore, but it's we come together, we don't always agree. And I learned a phrase at my new job at Amazon called disagree, or have backbone and then disagree and commit. So I think all of us have backbone. We come with our strong convictions and the things that we've researched, and then we do disagree in a healthy way. But what I love is that once the vote happens, we commit. And we commit to giving that direction to the city and to our wonderful staff who actually puts that work together and makes it happen. So I've had fun disagreeing and committing. I've had fun agreeing and committing as well, because that happens too. We've dove deep. We've made trade-offs. I think that until you sit up here, it's hard to understand what it's like to not always have every choice that you want. Oftentimes you're only given a few choices that aren't the best for various reasons, and you still have to make a decision. So thank you for doing that together, your professionalism and your high integrity in doing that with me on this journey. I want to thank the boards and the commissions. As Ben said, serving with 3CE and the Joint Powers Authority and the Rec Board has been a ton of fun. Additional commitments, definitely, but lots of learning and lots of great times there. And then to the staff that sits here for hourlessly and prepares their presentations. I look at your faces and I think about the hard work that you do, your professionalism under Ben's leadership. You're a happy group, you're a fun group, and I've never been told no. I've always been told, yes, we'll look into that. Yes, we can figure that out. So the can-do attitude and the teamwork that I see at the city and the police force really serves our community well. So I appreciate the staff very much. To the future council members, where's Lori? Congratulations. And I know you're going to be sworn in soon. And I'm very proud of you and everyone who ran a campaign. I'm very proud of you who got elected, to Joe, to be continuing to willing to serve. You're stepping up, and I know you're going to do a lot of hard work, and I can say thank you already, and I appreciate you. Come prepared, do the hard work, keep on, keep a smile on, keep it like low level. Don't take everything too seriously. And it will be fun, and you'll be able to, in 4 years, kind of feel what I'm feeling right now, which is proud of what you've done. So I want that for you, and I know that you're going to do a great job in the journey ahead. And then last but not least, and I did leave this last intentionally, which is to the public. So all of you who are here and to people who are listening, I want to say thanks last to the public, because I'm becoming, a member of the public again, and not going to be on council, but I will stay involved. PG is our home. We've lived here for 10 years, and we're not going anywhere. I will continue to model myself as a member of the public the same way that you all have done while I've been on council, writing emails, coming, speaking, giving your input and being involved. It's been impressive And it's a big help to those of us on council to have people who take the time to do the research and send those emails and send those comments. So keep doing it. I appreciate it. I'm going to start doing it and stay involved. So that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. We're going to do council comments and then I'll open the floor up for public comments. But for doing that, we've got some plaques here from State Senator John Laird. One for both. Could you hold those plaques up or pass them out in appreciation of all your efforts? Being on council takes a lot of time, a sacrifice of personal time, family time, and a lot of effort. And I just thank both council members, soon to be former council members, from the bottom of my heart for their efforts here on behalf of the community. It's not always easy, but I think the overall overwhelming majority of the community appreciates the work that council does, city government, and your big role in it. So it's still not hit me yet that you're not going to be right here. It's going to take a while to sink in, but thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you around town or talking to you at times. And I know you'll have some input and will always be appreciated. Thank you. Any other council members? Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, well, I can't believe the time is here, and I'm going to miss you both a lot. You kind of like become a small family, of people, and we don't always agree, as Amy said, but we have to do our best. I want to talk about Jenny first. I have a few notes here. I feel that Jenny always fought for what she believed in, and that came through in her positions and also in her items that she brought forward and courageously tried to get passed by the city council. I think she always did her own research, and she spent her time, a lot of time doing her research on those things. I think Jenny worked really hard regionally and sought to work with neighboring communities and put a lot of heart into that. And I think above all else that Jenny really loves this city, and she thought she was doing her best for the city at all times. And so I have to commend her for that. And I have to wish you, Jenny, the best in your future endeavors. Thank you very much. And it was a pleasure serving with you. And for Amy, Amy has a lot of knowledge areas. She's done a lot of things. And what I realized about Amy is she was always willing to hear everyone's position and really think it through and make a decision based on all the facts. She really had an acumen for analysis and an ability to crunch numbers and create charts. And some of the charts she brought to a closed set or any session, I was like, wow, how did she do that? But I think most of all, she's a great person and has great character. And I had the privilege of meeting her family, and they're a great group of people. And she's very committed to this community. And so it's truly been a pleasure serving with you, Amy, and I know that we'll continue to be friends as time goes on. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick, for stealing my thunder. No, but it's been a real pleasure working with both of you, and really, truly be missed. And I know once in a while couple of us go out for breakfast, but now we don't have to worry about the Brown Act, and we could have both of you come out to breakfast with us. But it's been a real pleasure and we're working with both of you and really appreciate the job you've done. And sometimes it appears to be a real job and it is a job, but it's just great to see people so committed to the city of Pacific Grove and the staff. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Councilmember Paduri.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, both of you. I can't believe 2 years has passed, to be honest. It's really flown by. But I would like to echo some of the comments here too. It's a tough job, really balancing family as well as work, children, as well as everything else that goes on. So it's dedicated time that you have to dedicate to the city. And I really appreciate that both of you have managed to do a stellar job right there. And really, when I just look at like both of you, when I look at Councilmember McAdams, for instance, I view her as like a fearless advocate. That's for the first thing that comes to mind is like she's a fearless leader. She really takes on all the tough jobs that are there and brings forth to the council her views that are there. Similarly, I would say when I look at Councilmember Tomlinson, it's like she brings a balance to the council. She's really welcoming from her view. In fact, for that matter, when I was running, she was wholeheartedly providing me all kinds of material just for the sake of running. So it's one of those things which really bring council to like a group together, even though we disagree or agree on matters. And really, both of you have been role models for me. So I thank you for all the time and the effort from you and all your families that have gone into this. And I wish you both the best of luck in the future.
Let's have a group photo. This will be the last photo of this council. All right. Members of the public would like to say some words here in recognition. I see we've got a taker. Thank you, Mr. Jackman. Appreciate it. Welcome.
The time for issues and questions. It is a moment for thanks and congratulations. First, thank you to both Jenny McAdams and Amy Tomlinson for completing 4 years of selfless service to the town. Even from the outside, as a citizen and board member before, I can think of no position as more demanding than city council member. And you both have done, it's hard to look when you both have done your best and super service for our community. I wish you both the best going forward and continued success in all your future ventures. Thank you again for all that you have done. To the 2 newly elected members, congratulations. And we'll have to find them out there as well. I can't say how happy I am to see you, Debbie, and you, Laurie, hiding in the back, sitting up there now on city council. But really, I'm not surprised. You both bring unparalleled energy, vitality, critical thinking, and a sense of connecting to the community in your approaches. This gives me hope that our new city council will be among the best ever going forward. To our town's re-elected city council member, Joe, well, I always knew you would be re-elected and congratulate you too. Our community really wants you to represent us. That's clear as a bell. My hope going forward is that you will be able to apply the same tireless, focused energy that you demonstrated throughout your tireless campaign to researching and preparing questions that you'll face in the city council's thorniest issues going forward. Week after week, month after month, for the next 4 years, you've signed up for it. I know you can do it. Finally, I know our city council, both old and new, all members will work together in a smart, brave, and selfless manner to overcome the challenges and to have the best possible outcomes. I have hope that our city council has a chance to act and lead out front and possibly to be the best it ever has been. Good luck to you all, and thank you all for serving our city of Pacific Grove.
Thank you. Do you have anybody on Zoom that wishes to make?
We
a comment?
do, sir. Andrew Gonzalez.
Yes. I wanted to tell the old city council to be careful with the new city council to be careful, because the old city council is about to get sued for everything they got for running a right-wing hate group, including Tomlinson too. So just be careful. Thank you and have a good night.
Nadia Mark.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to congratulate the incoming council members and take this opportunity to remind you all that we have a platform to model a growth mindset and to represent all the voices in the community. And with one of the community's fiercest champions leaving the council, there's a champion who is leaving and voices who are left voiceless. So I'm hoping that all of you will keep this in mind and model that growth mindset. And I just want to give you all a reminder that criticism does not mean that we don't support you. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank
Thank you.
Dara Vining.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mine's just going to be very short, but I just wanted to, thank Jenny McAdams and Amy Tomlinson for their service. And I want to congratulate Debbie Beck and Lori McDonald in the re-election of Joe Melia. Thank you.
Thank you.
No more hands are raised, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, I'll conclude public comment and we'll move on to the oaths for our newly elected officials. Ms. Lindstrom.
All right, so you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Bill Peak, do solemnly swear
I, Bill Peak, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
And I take this obligation freely
And I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that it will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter. Oh, interesting. Thank you very much. And who's next?
Joe. So you raise your right hand. I, Joe Emilio, do solemnly swear
I, Joe Emilio, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign
Again.
and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the United State of California.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
And I will and faithfully discharge
the duties upon
duties upon
which I am about to enter.
which I'm about to enter.
Yep.
Thank you.
Fine. I, Debbie Beck, do solemnly swear
I, Debbie Beck, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and to the Constitution of the State of California.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you.
Um,
I, Lori McDonald, do solemnly affirm
I, Lori McDonald, do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you.
I want to again say congratulations to our returning council member, Joe Emilio. It doesn't feel like you've left. And our newly elected council members. Much appreciated. Look forward to a couple of years of productive efforts on behalf of the community and to the public. Speaking for myself, I just want to say that it continues to be an honor and a privilege to serve the citizens of Pacific Grove. Anyone else? All right.
I know for myself, thank you to the public for all the support that you gave me for my reelection. And I'll continue to do the best for the citizens and the community of Pacific Grove. I will keep that in mind all on my decisions, but thank you very much.
All right. Councilmember Beck.
And the staff. I thought I was on, yeah. Thank the residents of Pacific Grove. I look forward to serving each and every one of you and having your voice up here and looking forward to working with this amazing council and staff. Thank you.
You want to say? Councilmember McDonald.
I also want to thank everyone for supporting me through my campaign, all the people who helped me to get here. And I just really enjoyed meeting everybody when I was going door to door at the farmers market and really getting to know our neighbors because we are a wonderful city and a wonderful group of citizens. I'm so honored to represent you. And I always look forward to hearing what our residents have to say because I feel my role is to represent you. And so your voices are important and I want to be a voice for you and also advocate for the needs of all of our citizens. Thank you so much.
Well, now on to more routine business and we'll start with staff announcements. Mr. Pyrrhic, do you have any announcements?
I'd like to announce I found the mute, the button to unmute, so I have no announcements.
All right. Mr. Harvey.
Mr. Mayor, I think I only have one this evening. I will be convening city manager offsite office hours in January on Wednesday, the 11th at the, I'm going to get the name of the establishment wrong, the bakery, the Bagel Cafe, I think it's called the Bagel Cafe. It's up on Forest. I go there all the time. I can't remember the name. Anyway, more information will be coming out about that. Thank you.
Okay. And council members. Councilmember Pedori.
I would like to take this opportunity to actually thank Mr. Mike Wax, Mr. Mark Chapman, Ms. Tina Rowe, and Mr. Ryan for participating in the democratic process. And as you may know, even though you've lost out, that doesn't mean you've lost. You can still volunteer to be part of the community. And I wanted to mention that you can participate in the election process in 2 years. And if you're, and while that's going on, the city does have a posting out there for appointments to boards and commissions. Applications are due December 21st. I encourage you to participate. Thank you.
I'll just repeat that date, December 21st. Thank you very much for mentioning it. And that's for applications with the city clerk that's online to become an appointed official serving on a city commission board or committee. Any other announcements? All right. Moving on to now general public comment. If you have a general public comment, please come forward. Welcome.
I promised my kids cookies. Are we not having cookies?
All right, well, let's see. Do we have some?
I thought we were going to
There,
take
all right,
a break for cookies.
we're gonna take, let's take a short break. 5-minute
Thank you.
break, okay? Very nice words.
December 21st.
drinking over there? No. Oh, okay. I'm drinking my water. Oh. I'm surprised my little Ben survived. I thought for sure we were gonna like, Auntie Jen, you have to take him, but he survived, so, yeah.
All right.
No, and finally, babies.
Yeah, absolutely.
No?
Take your seats. We're going to start again.
Yes. You may. My brother drove in from, he's a retired chief.
All right.
so, He was just here. He just left. He drove in from Houston for this.
All right.
Yeah.
hmm,
Perfect. Yep. Yep.
next item on the Agenda is the consent agenda, and I'm pulling item 9B. That's the council calendar, and we'll hear that as 12A. That be immediately following the
Mr. Mayor.
Your Honor, did we go out for public comment
General
on
public
Zoom?
comment?
Yeah, we did general public comment, I thought. No, okay, all right,
Councilmember Tomlinson.
that's
kinda
right. We've
hijacked
already
it.
done it 3 times.
The Cookie Monster attacked.
All right, thank you for that. All right, general public comment, please, welcome.
All right, good evening, Mayor Peak and City Council members. My name is Nancy Parsons. I'm here tonight to make you aware of changes to the Monterey Salinas Transit bus schedule. First, I would like to ask how many of you ride the bus? Does anybody here ride the bus? Anybody in the audience ride the bus?
Ms. Parsons, this isn't a Q&A. Please make your comments.
Okay, sorry. At a time when we should be trying to cut our carbon footprint, I have to wonder why more people aren't using the MST. I live in Del Monte Park and ride the bus often. Just this week, I learned that the MST will no longer be servicing my neighborhood. The number 2 line will still be running, but will exclude Del Monte Park. I understand that the MST has to make cuts. They took a big hit during pandemic. Nobody was riding the bus. It was considered dangerous. So why were the people of Del Monte Park not notified of these possible changes earlier? So we might have offered input regarding the changes. There are several handicapped riders in our neighborhood that will now not have transportation available to them. Joe Emilio, I have to ask you, you're on the MST board and the Traffic Commission. You must have been aware of possible changes, and yet no one in my neighborhood knew about it. Because you live in Del Monte Park and serve on the board, why didn't you reach out to the people of your community to inform them and ask them for input? Del Monte Park has no sidewalks and is not pedestrian friendly. The now 15-minute walk to the nearest bus stop will take more time and will be dangerous for those who are handicapped. Once again, I feel the people of Del Monte Park are the poor relatives and are always either exploited or left out of everything. So I have to ask, do you have any comment, and were you all aware of the changes?
This is not Q&A. Is that your?
Well, does anybody have any comment about the
Yeah,
bus?
we don't normally respond
Okay,
during general public comment. It's just
Okay.
your time, public's time to freely speak to
just
the
express.
council. Yeah.
okay, all right then.
And please, I know you've sent an email, and council now has the opportunity to respond to you also.
Okay, and everyone on the
email.
council got the email?
Yes,
Yes. Okay, thank you.
thank you. Welcome.
My name is Peggy Gibbs. I just wanted to correct something that earlier didn't get done. And that is, I don't think that we officially thanked as the public, Mayor Peak for his successful run. And so I just wanted to take a moment to do that and welcome you to the next 4 years.
Well, 2 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's a really exciting night, isn't it? We had a long campaigns, met a lot of you, made some new friends, had a lot of conversations. And it's good to see you all were able to fulfill your goal and to make it up to be on the council, the new people especially. I want to thank the older folks who have been here serving for the last 2 years. Thanks for putting in your time. Now we can get down, once the celebration's over, next week or maybe later this evening, we can get down to business. And when I speak of business, I'm always proud to see on the council business-minded people, people who've run successful businesses, who understand budgeting, who understand profit and loss, who understand many aspects of financial security for the city and the city's resident taxpayers. I know we often hear that we have underprivileged and unrepresented groups in the city. I don't know of any that are politically unrepresented. Everyone here, myself, everyone in the audience, all those online, and those at home watching TV and doing other things, they're all represented by you. And we put a lot of faith in your ability to represent us. So I hope you will begin this new term of new council people joining in and will be business minded, to be concerned with your spending, the budget, and avoid as much as possible, and it can be done, it's not that difficult, avoid new taxes and issues that are pretended to be tax increases and needed by the city, because the city of Pacific Grove doesn't have a taxation problem. You have a spending problem. And that needs to be addressed by all of you and kept in mind with every decision you make. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. All right. Welcome. Mr. Gibbs, you're nearest.
I am. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council, to the new members here. I thought maybe I'd get to be the first one to make a public comment to the but 3 or 4 people beat me to it, including my wife. But some of you may know that my favorite topic, and you heard me talk about it many times, and you probably thought I was going to get up here and say something about the topic that means a lot to me. And it is tonight, I'm going to bring it up. I'm sorry, Mayor, but it's brownies. I don't know who bought these brownies, but I had one. I'm trying to keep from having 2. So I don't know who's responsible for that. They were really good. And I thought it was a really nice exchange and changeover, and congratulations to Lori and to Debbie and to the mayor. I have to say that we came from the Bay Area and we've been coming down here for a long time. And we've been involved in things like this in other cities. But this is the first time that actually anybody came to my door. Joe came to my door, Debbie came to the door, Lori came, and it was like I was shocked that everybody was so nice and open and willing to talk about pretty much any issue. We tried to kick Joe out after a certain period of time, and then he wanted to talk about more issues. So we sat and listened to that. So I was, to me, somebody once said, Tip O'Neill, a longtime congressman, a Democrat, once said that all of politics is local. And I would just say to you all, all politics here in PG is local and it's inspirational, whatever side you're coming from. And Peggy and me were inspired by everybody just getting out, going to the farmer's market and doing their thing. I've got a minute or so left. But I truly believe that it was really something to see. I've never seen it before. I've been around for a few years. The last thing, and I would follow on what Mr. Vince said, business is really important in Pacific Grove. Those of you that we talk to probably know that we are big proponents of small business. We have talked to everybody. We have some proposals in mind to bring out. I know we talked to Chaps about this quite a bit, and he's been very supportive about doing some sort of a business competition for kids to bring ideas up for sustainability, for new kinds of products, provide water to the city and get the kids involved, introduce them early in this process of being involved in the city. And so I thank everybody for being receptive to our thoughts and comments about that. So congratulations again to the mayor, to Joe, to Lori, and sorry to use your first name, so I feel like your family, and to Debbie. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Kim Aikman. And first I want to welcome our new members here, Lori and Debbie. And then congratulations to Joe and Mayor Peak, of course. I'd like to give you guys a seal update. That's what I've come here to do. And, you know, many people don't know that our seals are here year round, that they're year round residents at Hopkins West Beach. And right now, just in the last week, we have counted 48 of our pregnant females. So all of the many big females you see down there right now are pregnant at this time of year. And I just want to make everybody aware of that and to keep that in mind with anything moving forward, because this is a sensitive time now for them and pupping season's breathing down our back already. So if you get a chance, please come down and see the group. We had 128 on the beach last Friday, 111 over the weekend. So it is quite a sight to see, and we're going to be doing a lot of educating this year. So just coming to give you a seal update and say, come down and see them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, how about our virtual audience?
No virtual audience.
All right, well, I'll close public comment and now move on to the consent agenda. I'm going to pull item 9B, that's the council calendar, and we'll hear that as item 12A, unfinished and ongoing business. Any other items council members would like to pull from the consent agenda? All right, anyone from the public wishing to pull a consent agenda item? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion?
Consent agenda as amended.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one hand raised.
Okay,
I thought I did. I'm sorry. It's not raised. Mr. Kubica? Did you wish to pull an item?
Yes, I'd like to pull item 9C.
a 9C, that's the Museum of Natural History roof repair project. All right. And let's hear that under new business, that would be 13G as in George. Any other hands up from the public
No, sir.
on Zoom? All right. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second.
And a vote, please.
Member Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Council Members Beck. Coletti.
Aye.
McDonald.
Aye.
Paduri.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0 to approve the consent agenda as modified.
Briefly, what council has just done, we've approved council minutes from November 16th. We've approved a resolution supporting the Blue Zones project. We have also adopted a resolution in support of net energy metering, which is in support of rooftop solar. We've held a second reading and adopted an ordinance to amend the salary schedule minimum wage. We've held also a second reading and adopted an ordinance amending the current fiscal year budget. We've received a statement, Governor Newsom's executive order N-16-22 on DEI. We have received minutes from the Monterey Salinas Transit Board. We have, let's see. We've approved appointments to regional boards and endorsed liaisons. And we've received minutes from the Beautification and Natural Resources Commission from August and September, and the Traffic Safety Commission from their November meeting. And that brings us on to the new item 12A, or the council calendar, which was formerly 9B. Ms. Kendall, is that your item?
It is, sir. Thank you. I did not prepare a PowerPoint of any kind, sir, but this is just our annual, well, not annual, but our calendar of council meetings that I put together each time a new council comes on board, and it's usually for the following 2 years. And so it's a calendar for 2023 through 2024. That's my report tonight.
Do we have any public comment on the council calendar? From our Zoom audience?
We do have one hand raised, Mr. Mayor. Andrew Kay.
Welcome. Mr. Kubica, welcome to speak. Perhaps his hand was left up.
I'm thinking so. Thank you. There are no other hands raised.
All right. And I have one slide. Ms. Kendall, could you put that one slide up? Well, the next page. So I didn't have any comments about the standard regular meeting schedule, which is the first and third Wednesdays of the month, excluding January. But what I wanted to do was to hear council's thoughts on two important items. One is goal setting, which is now that, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the agenda, setting new council goals for the next 2 years for this council, and also talk about budget workshop. We had a budget workshop in 2 years ago in March 2021, and I'd like to hear some council thoughts. We've got 2 council members that were new at the time. I thought that was a very thorough review and getting us all up to speed and thinking about what are the components of the budget. So both of these activities, I would say we should consider approximately 2 hours apiece. And so these could be standalone special meetings. And I've shown dates for goal setting in red, January 25th, February 8th. Those are Wednesdays. If it were to be a standalone meeting, which I highly recommend, and then the budget workshop following in March. Of course, we could do these 2 activities during a regular meeting. However, that's going to take a considerable amount of time, is going to push off other items. So council members' thoughts, Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. When I came on council, and we did have the budget workshop that you mentioned in March of 2021, I thought it was invaluable. There was a lot of information that got presented that we don't typically see. There were some reports, for instance, on our leases and our rent performance. It was just a very deep dive into the budget, and it was a great precursor to getting prepared for preparing the budget for that fiscal year or for the upcoming fiscal year. So I would hope it would be a standalone and 2 hours, as much time as we can dedicate to discussing and having the information presented.
Councilmember Smith.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I think you're suggesting one session for each of these, and that's what I would support that, even though there's 4.
Yeah.
You meant one of each red and blue. Okay, and I'm okay with that, and all of these dates are fine for that, and I think we should do that because we never seem to have any time at the end during these meetings to get to things like this. So, thank you.
Councilmember Pedori.
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree. Actually, the goal setting meeting, the 2 items that we're going to talk about here, budget workshop and goal setting, are really important for the new council to really understand what is happening with the city itself. Also, you may have run on some certain election kind of goals yourself, and this is a great time to have those goals under consideration while the council is discussing it. The only comment I have regarding the dates is Jan 18, Jan 25, Feb 1, Feb 8, and Feb 15. These are 5 continuous weeks. My suggestion is to move the Feb 8th to Feb 22nd, and similarly March 8th to potentially April, unless there's a reason why it's not in April.
Okay, yeah, just to clarify, I had just put down 2 tentative dates. I did not intend, my mistake. It was just one meeting for goal setting on
Okay.
either of these 2 dates proposed, and 1 meeting for the budget workshop on either of those dates. So-
Okay, understood. Okay, so with that, I'm good with this. I also would like to make a comment that typically it makes sense for us to have 2 meetings in January. I know maybe that's not the protocol, or I don't know why that was the protocol, but knowing that typically, I would say bigger items come up in December, it appears. Having 2 meetings in January, I'm not opposed to it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm fine with the goal setting dates and the budget workshops. I'm okay with those dates. I also want to mention that when I first got elected in I believe it was 2018, we had a goal setting workshop at Asilomar. And I want to say someone facilitated that goal setting workshop, and I found that to be invaluable when I first came on. So that's a suggestion to have a goal setting workshop. I think that would be important.
Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would be favorable for goal setting on January 25th and then budget workshop March 8th. I think the sooner the better. And that's why I'm favorable to the January 25th date. Thank you.
Councilmember McDonald.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. As a new member, I think anything that helps us understand the system better would be welcome and appreciated. And as far as I know, those dates would work. I know
Right.
there's a, I'm sorry, I know there's a new city council members conference that they've recommended for us. And I would just need to check and make sure those dates don't interfere.
Okay.
Mr. Harvey?
All right. Mr. Harvey, I'm hearing a pretty resounding support of having 1 goal setting meeting and 1 budget workshop. I concur with Councilmember Beck to me, the sooner the better. But that also depends on all council availability as well as your staff availability.
Mr. Mayor, would you just like us to poll individually council members to line things up, or how would you like us to lock it in?
Any objections to the goal setting on January 25th? and the budget workshop on March 8th.
Can I confirm that wasn't the dates of the conference?
Yes, through the mayor. The academy is January 18th through the 20th.
And the SoCal one? Because I actually can't attend that one.
Okay, let's see here. One academy is in Sacramento, January 18th through the 20th. And the other is February 1st through the 3rd in Universal City.
All right, Mr. Harvey,
Thank you, Mayor. That will work.
lock in those dates, January 25th and March 8th. That'd be Wednesday at starting at 6 p.m. Single item agendas. Right.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the schedule with those two added meetings.
And may we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Coletti.
Aye.
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Councilmembers Beck. Aye. McDonald. And Paduri.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, moving on to item 13A, Mayor Pro Tem. This is my item. I have no slides for this. This is a exercise. The Mayor Pro Tem, or formerly Mayor Pro Tempore, is a position that is described in our charter and municipal code. And we choose council members elect a Mayor Pro Tem. And the process has been that there's nominations. You can nominate yourself or another council member. And then we have a motion to close nominations, and then we have a vote. And it requires a vote of 4 to select a Mayor Pro Tem. And if the first vote, we don't get a majority approval, then we'll just continue the process until we finally get to electing a Mayor Pro Tem with 4 votes. Okay, I'm not sure where that voice came from. Do we have any public comment here in the audience? Please come forward. Welcome.
I had sent an email to all of you, including the new members, last week, and that was before I realized this was going to be on the agenda. But I would like to share briefly a portion of what I had sent. And it does pertain to this agenda item and the next one. According to the definitions of Merriam-Webster and Oxford language, pro tempore is for the time being, temporary, for the moment, for now, for the present, briefly, fleeting, or for the nonce, which means once or special occasions. It does not mean a standing title. It's to fill up an empty position. The Pacific Grove Municipal Code 0204010 Rules of Order says Robert's Rules of Order shall be the authority governing the council on all controversial points, not especially provided by the law or by this code. Article 11 of our charter says the mayor shall preside over all council meetings and shall be entitled to 1 vote. The council shall choose one of its members to serve as Mayor Pro Tem during the absence of the mayor. Reading from Robert's Rules, where it says president, that would be our presiding officer, the mayor, and secretary would be the city clerk. If the president vacates the chair during a meeting and no vice president is available, he can, subject to the approval of the assembly, appoint a temporary chairman who would then be chairman pro tempore or chairman pro tem. The return of the president, the arrival of the vice president, or the first adjournment puts an end to that appointment. The regular presiding officer, knowing that he will be absent from a future meeting, cannot in advance authorize another member to preside in his place. If neither the president nor the vice president is present, the secretary, or in the secretary's absence, some other member should call the meeting to order, and the assembly should immediately elect a chairman pro tem to preside during the session. Such office is terminated by the entrance of the president or vice president or by the election of another chairman pro tem. So because our mayor is here and is running the meeting today, following Robert's rules, selecting a pro tem is not called for. So I hope that you'll just pull this item and continue as recommended by Robert's rules. Now, I will not repeat myself. I'll spare you that for the next agenda, but I'm hoping that you will consider this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Nobody online, sir.
All right, we'll now bring it back to council. Councilmember
I'm
Amelia.
sorry, Mayor, we just had a hand raised.
Hmm.
Inga Lawrence.
Welcome.
Hello? There was some sort of echo. I just wanted to say that I actually agree with Sally Moore. And I know that the mayor pro tem it would be easier if you just did it tonight and got it over with. However, it's an honorific. It is not. And I have seen in previous years, it made into this big deal. And do you know what? It's an honorific, and it really, in my mind, doesn't have a place except to preside for a meeting. That's my own opinion. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
No further. Is it?
Okay. Yes. Yes. System back there real quick.
How much that is?
Because this one.
That's weird.
Five-minute break. Hang on, we just started to get some crazy echo out of nowhere. I want to see if this fixes it. Like
Testing, testing.
Seems like we're still getting.
Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three.
That's not as bad. See if backhoe cancellations on. And Mohammed, just a quick audio test, is that any better?
No, it's still not as clear.
All right, there's a lot going on in here. I can't hear you. I'm gonna give you a call real quick.
I think that did, yeah. Not on now.
We're gonna participate again.
That's my mic on. Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3. But I was muted here. That's so weird.
But that's the other thing is too, like when these mics were muted, it was kicking, it was even though they're red. So your machine shows it's still is muted right now.
Uh-huh.
Karen, do you want to see me?
Check.
Hey, Mohammed, just really quick, can you just confirm with me that I might have not taken care of everything?
Yeah, it's coming through clear now. How do you hear my audio?
Okay, we may have had a laptop open, we may have not, but it seems, if it's working right now, it seems like we should be good to go. If we experience that again, I'll do that hard reset, but it's loud and clear right now.
Yeah, the echo is gone now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, we're now resuming. We're on item 13A, Mayor Pro Tempore. Let me ask again, do we have any public comment on Zoom? Technical issue. Seems to be resolved. All right, a closed public comment. We'll go to council. Councilmember Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we discussed this, probably 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. We kind of went round and around about the mayor pro tem, and I'm going to make a suggestion that we fall back on that, where it's on a 6-month rotation as mayor pro tem, and it seems to have worked that way, and that's my suggestion on that.
I would like to kick off the nomination. Councilmember Nick Smith. He's the most senior member of council, and Councilmember Smith would be serving for 2 years as mayor pro tem. As Councilmember Emilio stated, it's been discussed at length in the past, we used up quite a bit of time. I'm not in favor of a 6-month or shorter interval. Let's just do it once and have it done. It is largely a ceremonial role. And in 2 years, we'll be selecting a new mayor pro tem. And if it goes to the most senior member of council at that time, it would be Councilmember Emilio. So any other nominations? Let's see. Are there any other nominations? Councilmember Emilio.
I'll make a motion to approve Nick Smith as mayor pro tem.
All right. We're going to need just going to need a vote. Okay, I think that's fine. We only have one without any other nominations. And I'll second that. May we have a vote, please?
Mayor Peak,
Aye.
current Mayor Pro Tem Emilio,
Aye.
Councilmember Beck,
Aye.
Councilmember Coletti.
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald,
Aye.
Councilmember Paduri,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
and soon to be Mayor Pro Tem Smith. Motion carries 7-0.
All right. Moving on to the next item, 13B, the mayor pro tem role and appointment. Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have some slides that I'd like to use. And, you know, this is going to speak to, just to preface this, this is going to speak to some of the comments that were made by the public on the last item, where there is a lot of confusion. And most of the confusion centers around the fact that the implementation, or excuse me, the lack of implementation for this charter provision. So that's what we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing codifying Charter Article 11 as it deals with the role and appointment of the mayor pro tempore. Next slide, please. So City of Pacific Grove is a charter city. These are some of the bullet points that kind of guide us to understand what a charter city is. It's basically allows the citizens to express how their local government will be organized as opposed to a general law city. Pacific Grove became a charter city in 1927. And the city charter, the original charter, and since then has continuously required selection of a council member to act as mayor pro tempore during the absence of the mayor. Next slide, please. So this is the provision within Charter 11. It's pretty terse, which leads to a lot of misunderstanding or some misunderstanding. It reads as follows: the council shall choose one of its mayors to serve as mayor pro tempore during the absence of the mayor. However, implementation of this charter provision kind of has become this biennial free-for-all where we're trying to figure out what does it mean. And I think we just need to lock it down by implementing specific implementation in our municipal code. So the proposed ordinance, which is attached to the agenda report, ensures compliance with Article 11 and better clarifies its interpretation and implementation. Next slide, please. So two subsections that I've included in the slides. I'm not going to read them, but well, maybe I will. So these are found in the ordinance as well. I'm just pulling out the core subsections of the proposed ordinance. The first one deals with the role of the mayor pro tempore. The mayor pro tempore shall act as mayor during the absence or disability of the mayor and shall possess the powers and discharge the duties of the mayor during such absence or disability only, provided, however, that the mayor pro tempore shall have no authority to appoint persons to serve on any board, committee, or commission. That's a discretionary power that or duty that is given to the mayor, and we're going to forego having the mayor pro tempore have that power during the brief time he would be in office. That's the idea. Next slide, please. First slide dealt with the role. This deals with the appointment. So at the meeting at which the declaration of the election results for a general municipal election is made, that's today, the city council shall by election appoint one of its members as mayor pro tempore, who shall serve in such capacity at the pleasure of the city council. The procedure for nominating the mayor pro tempore shall be prescribed by city council policy. The city council policy for that nomination procedure is also attached to the agenda report. Next slide, please. So these are the what distinguishes the mayor from a council member. It's basically what you see here on the slide. It's the these four unique duties. The mayor presides over council meetings. The mayor signs contracts. The mayor signs ordinances, and the mayor appoints boards, commissions, and committee members. So of these four listed here, the mayor pro tempore would be able to do all three, but not the last. Presiding over the meeting, he or she would be doing, and then signing contracts, citing ordinances. Both of those are ministerial acts. So, but the appointment would be not given. The mayor pro tempore would not have the authority to appoint. And the last slide, please. And that's it. So in conclusion, it's the charter, and this has happened before. In 2021, we dealt with the provision of the charter that dealt with signing legal documents and contracts by the mayor. That provision had always been in the charter, but it had never been implemented. It had never been brought forward and put in our municipal code, and it wasn't being followed. So the charter is a higher level, and we're just going to establish the implementation here tonight for the mayor pro tempore role and appointment by codifying it within the municipal code. And those are all comments I have.
Do you have any public comment? How about on Zoom?
We do. Kramer,
Welcome.
you'll need to unmute yourself. Kramer, you have the floor. Go to the next one. Inga Lawrence-Doimer.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm a little unclear except in the signing of contracts and the ordinances, if the mayor pro tempore has, but it's only in the absence of the mayor, right? I mean, the mayor has to be really disabled for that because it seems to me they're not signing ordinances and contracts at a meeting, I'm just unclear on that. So I would like it to be really specific. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No further hands are raised.
All right, I'll close public comment. And I'll just make a point, actually refer to Ms. Dahmer's question. So the mayor pro tem position sits in on the absence of the mayor, but in the case where the mayor, there is no mayor through whatever actions might happen, then there is another provision in our municipal code that calls for selecting a new mayor. And that's not what we're talking about today. Today is would be temporary absence of the mayor. Okay. Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was wondering, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Coletti or Councilmember Coletti. Could we do a friendly amendment to address calling Mayor Pro Tem at every meeting unless that mayor pro tem is in that role. I know just as a resident prior to being elected, it was very confusing and just calling out roll call every time. And I'm just wondering if we could do a friendly amendment that the mayor pro tem title would be used in that capacity when he is actually in that position.
All right. Any other council member comments? I'll just speak to that suggestion. I absolutely, and that is what I think the public has already said. The trouble is, it's confusing, and I personally found it confusing. We were switching mayor pro tem every few months, and at least from running a meeting, and I'll speak for the clerks, is having the title set and not having to wonder what's the right title at different times or different months. I just like to keep it the mayor pro tem title for the entire 2 years.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. And I think the friendly amendment would be that the title be used if you were not present at a meeting rather than every meeting as roll call and so forth. Just my opinion. Thank you.
All right. If no further discussion, may I hear a motion?
Second.
And a vote, please.
I had a question. There was a request for an amendment. And so are you voting without the amendment or with the amendment?
A vote, please.
I'm sorry, I did not hear, Councilmember Federi. You're voting without the amendment?
Yeah, that's an amendment as
Oh,
is
yes.
put in the agenda.
Thank you. Councilmember Federi? Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald? Aye. Councilmember Coletti?
Aye.
Councilmember Beck?
Aye.
Councilmember Emilio?
Aye.
Mayor Peak?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. We're on to item 13C and new software, ClearGov software for describing council goals. Ms. Hannah, welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council, and members of the public, and welcome to the new and returning council members. Is my audio coming through okay? There was some issues at the last meeting.
Yes, we can hear you better this evening. Thank you.
Okay. It will be just a moment and I'll share my screen. As part of one of the council goals last year, we revisited our financial reports with the council subcommittee, as well as looked at our current transparency software and asked if it was really intuitive and if it provided information in an easy to understand format for the general public. And we looked at another package called ClearGov. This is the package that I'll be sharing with you tonight. And within this package, it had a much more cleaner, what they call checkbook, or way able to view the check register, where you can sort by vendor and actually download the information specifically for that vendor. You can also see capital projects and their status. So for instance, if there is a project pending and you can see if it's in the design phase or in the construction phase, because it's sometimes when we just look at things from a financial perspective, a lot of the costs may not be incurred until construction begins, but nevertheless, the project could be in process. So this will give us that information as well. We're going to do a full demo of the website in January when it goes live. But today, I just wanted to focus briefly on the council goals, since it is an item of discussion, and to share with you what that could look like when this newly council chooses to set their next goals. So on the transparency site, you'll see that there's a dashboard, and we have just a general council Council Goals Overview, along with a tab for each of the 7 goals. If you click on the Council Goals Overview, what we have right now is just a brief overview that the council goals serves as a foundation for the annual budget. We have a graphic which illustrates the different goals. And then we actually have a copy of the city council policy that's set up on this page. If we wanted to look at a specific goal to see the status, we could go into, for instance, complete streets. We'll see what the overall goal is. And then below it, we can see, previously this was all on a spreadsheet, but now you can see the goal, you can see the status, you can see an image and the notes that are related to that status. In addition, if there's relevant documents, copies of presentations, all that information can be added. So if you really wanted to look at the goals and what's been happening or gather some additional information, we'll have that there. There's also options for photos along with the status. And this is just a quick overview to give you an idea of what you can do or what you can expect when setting your goals, and also providing information to the public for follow-up and status. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? I know that was a really quick flyover.
I thought
Do you have anyone from Zoom?
I thought I saw a hand up. Andrew Kupka?
Welcome.
Ms. Torrey, thank you very much for your presentation. Will we be able to track the project? It looked like you had a start, but did you have a different steps through it as you went through it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it just a financial tool, or is it actually has a scheduling capability?
Through the mayor, shall I respond, or will you should?
Yes, if you'd like, sure.
Okay. It does. Those were the actual goals. The projects within the goals would be a little bit different. I can just briefly share with you a draft project. Our Deputy Public Works Director is in the process of loading that, and I don't want to stray from the main screen too much, which is the focus of this. But for instance, the Point Pinos Trail project, there's an overview of the project, some photos that you can scroll through and click on to get more information. There'll be a map if there's a specific site, a showing of the project budget, the different funding sources and how much, expenditures over time, and then here's the status bar. It would show project development engineering, RFP bid phase, and construction work in progress. You can also subscribe to project updates. And we'll be going further in the demo when we show the full site. But we were just looking today at the overall council goals and the status on those particular goals.
Do we have any other public comment?
No other hands are raised.
All right, council comment? Councilmember Pedori.
I'll be quick. Thank you. I think it's very
Further away.
Yeah, thank you, Tori, for giving a glimpse of what is coming from us. I can tell you, I've looked at ClearGov. It's a vast, a major improvement over what we've had before, and I really like the fact that we can track not only things by goals but also by projects. So as the city continues to delve into projects, you'll be able to see quickly where those projects reside and what the outcomes are. So this is a fantastic addition, and I look forward to seeing it in action. And I would like to thank you and the staff and the mayor for participating and taking this forward.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think it's great. I really like to, that's cool how to see the goals and how they line up with what's been going on. And give the public, it's transparent, the public can follow along. And it's a nice looking site, so it's great. Thank you.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tori, is there an expected launch date for full implementation?
Councilmember Coletti through the mayor, we're looking at the first week in January right now. It's pretty well ready to go. We're just working through some classifications of accounts just to make sure that they line up in the appropriate category.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's great if we can have an online tool that lets us drill down into expenditures and revenues. And I know that didn't get shown tonight, but I'm looking forward to that. So thank you.
Councilmember McDonald.
Yeah, I just also wanted to say thank you very much. I love the idea that we have something that'll be implemented not only to help the council members better understand the picture of the progress on projects, but to provide that transparency to the city so that the city knows what's going on as well. So our residents are aware that progress is being made and where we stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hannah. Appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing it in January. All right. Moving on to item 13D, council goals 2023, 2024. I've got a couple of slides, Ms. Kendall or Ms. Lindstrom, if you could put them up. All right, next slide. All right, our council goals policy is described in 0026. It's online on the drop down menu under council in general terms. And one of the key points is that the council sets goals at the beginning of each new council. So that's now. And we just talked about a meeting in January. And so next slide. The current council goals are on the city's website, again, under the drop-down menu, council, and then goals. And as Ms. Hannah stated, these goals provide direction to city manager and staff for creation of a work plan. And they're also the basis for discretionary budget priorities. So they're very important, and I'm sure our new council members and even our returning council members will remember those promises we made. Well, this is where we get to enact them next. And so my recommendation to kick this process off, I don't want to come to the meeting. Well, the goal setting meeting, we have obviously our current goals to start with, but we're going to be updating them. And then the new policy gave us ideas about recommendations about having SMART goals. And I'm sure council members remember our discussion about having SMART goals. And I think we can improve upon what we did and for the old council. And so I'm suggesting and asking for approval of two subcommittees, 3 people each. And I suggest that each of those 2 subcommittees have 1 new council member and then 2 that have the experience of going through this goal setting. And then that obviously leaves 1 person not on a subcommittee, and I'm volunteering not to be on one of those subcommittees. So we're going to need, if you agree with this recommendation, the subcommittee gets to meet whenever it's convenient. There's plenty of time. I'm sure Mr. Harvey and staff is available for bouncing ideas and consultation. In the meantime, you can get prepared. So if you're agreeable to this, I'd like to hear some names, some suggestions on who would be on each of the subcommittees. Councilmember Dory.
Yes, I actually have a question for you, Mayor. Thank you. Thanks for bringing this. My view is that I mean, this is a council action, all council members need to participate. And so my view is that we already are scheduling some time later in January to discuss the goals. My suggestion is to make that an in-person event if whenever possible, so that we can actually hash everything out. So we can hash everything out. Sorry, so we can hash everything out together. And I think it'll be useful to hear everybody's opinion throughout. I don't want to confine myself to a subcommittee and only hear two other folks' goals. I actually want to hear all goals from everybody and take appropriate action. So my view is that we do not go through this process. Thank you.
Well, let me just speak to that. What I'm suggesting, the subcommittees don't necessarily have to all agree and vote within the subcommittee, and those are the only goals you go forward. It's just it's an opportunity to bounce ideas off of each other and see if you can get some common goals. But that doesn't preclude everyone bringing their own goals to the full council. Anyhow, that's my thought. Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
I'm fine with forming a 3-person committee, and I think Lou had a comment as well.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you. I agree with both of you. I think we should, we obviously chose to do the goal setting workshop, but I think we should have the subcommittee breakout after the workshop, not in advance of it. So that we all get exposed to what we're all thinking, and then we can go off and refine what we may want to, we could just have it just, I hate breakout sessions, by the way, but that's kind of what I'm suggesting. And I think that would give us, a little more freedom to be, just with 2 colleagues, just throwing stuff, spitballing ideas. And I like that. I like that dynamic of, participating and kind of brainstorming. So, but without the context, initial context, which would be the workshop, I think would be harder to do. So that's a suggestion.
Councilmember Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree that we should, as a council, discuss the goals. It's similar to what Council Member Coletti mentioned, and then if we need to, we could break out. But I think it's important that we attempt to speak the same language about the council goals. I think that's important in a workshop. And at the time, we could personally bring maybe some ideas of some goals to that workshop. That's my suggestion.
Councilmember McDonald.
Yeah, so my understanding, to clarify, is that we would come together first so we're clear on what the overall goals are, then break apart, which would give us maybe some time logistically easier to discuss in smaller groups, divide and conquer, to look at the different goals and to maybe have more time to hash those out, and then come together back as a group to kind of finalize the overall goals. Is that correct?
I think that's what we're trying to work out here.
Okay.
I'm in favor of Luke's suggestion as well, especially since for the new council members that we come together as a group and then we break out. So thank you.
All right. Well, I'm not hearing support for forming, or at least the majority support for forming 3 subcommittees. So I'm just going to let this die. All right. Unless someone wants to make a motion. No. All right. This topic dies for lack of.
Yeah,
All right, very well. All right, moving on to the next item, 13E, Small Business Recovery Action Plan, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask Mr. Barry Foster and Ms. Kirsten Hines of HDL Econ Solutions to join us. I see Mr. Foster is with us, Ms. Hines is as well. Just on the topic of goals, before I hand this over to Mr. Foster, The prior council did have a goal to facilitate local business recovery. And as part of that, we, the city, asked HDL Econ Solutions to come up with a small business recovery plan. This plan has gone before the Economic Development Commission. They asked that you take a look at the recommendations in the report, which Mr. Foster and Ms. Hines will review with you in a second, and provide them with any feedback on those recommendations. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Foster, who's going to briefly go through the plan, the highlights of it, and the recommendations with you. Mr. Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Good evening. My name is Barry Foster. I'm a principal and managing director with HCL Companies. I head up our economic development division, Econ Solutions. So I'm just going to quickly go through a PowerPoint to kind of set the stage here. And as Mr. Harvey indicated, we did have the opportunity to present the plan and go through the PowerPoint at the Economic Development Commission. And we're excited to present it to you tonight. Can you go to the, Kirsten, bring up the PowerPoint, please? Can you go to the next slide? So what we did was we wanted to look at looking at kind of the impact that the pandemic has had on Pacific Grove and from pre-pandemic to the current time. We also wanted to look at establishing some realistic and achievable action items that will help Pacific Grove, especially their small businesses, recover both short and long term. Next. So you're very familiar, you've got a very diverse business community with a very diverse mix of retail, restaurants, markets, professional services, primarily in a couple of shopping areas in the downtown area and then the Fairway Shopping Center. And you have a lot of really successful and well-used bed and breakfasts, historic structures and very popular with tourists. And then approximately 4,300 jobs in Pacific Grove. Next. And then, next slide, please. There. And then, so you're all kind of familiar with the impacts that the pandemic and COVID has had on business community, but the governor had a number of shelter-in-place orders that really caused a lot of chaos for the business community, especially small businesses. We've kind of gotten through that. Things have started to get a little bit better, but there's a lot of influences that really had impacts on the business community and local economies. There's a shift to online shopping. There's a lot of supply chain disruptions and manufacturing slowdowns. It's hard to get products. There's been just a lot of issues with employment, labor shortages, especially with restaurants, getting people and then keeping people and getting good people. And then just, costs have gone up a lot in terms of having to get good labor, raw material costs, and just getting all those, all your products and services. Small business especially, which is the big part of what Pacific Grove has in terms of the business community, really it was kind of the hardest hit. A lot of the national companies rebounded a lot more quicker than small businesses. Sales tax in our company does work for a little over 400 cities and most of the counties in California for sales tax. So, we've been tracking this as the pandemic hit, and a lot of them have bounced back to pre-pandemic, which is a good thing from a city perspective because your sales taxes have bounced back to above pre-pandemic. But really, that's not the true indicator. Small business especially, they're not back to pre-pandemic in terms of cash flow, getting proper revenue margins to really be successful as a small business. And a lot of those, as I talked about, just all those influences from online shopping, labor problems, costs going up, they haven't been able to pass it on to their customers. And so they're not getting those required margins. They still need some help. Next. Again, this is a chart that shows the different fiscal years from fiscal year 2016-17 through 21-22, and the amount of sales tax revenue that Pacific Grove brought in during this period. So you can see that it was going up, and then the pandemic hit in March of 2020, things went down. 2021 also was a tough year. And so, you know, again, it had some challenges to it in terms of the amount of sales tax you're bringing in. It's bounced back again, but again, it's really important to emphasize that a lot of small businesses are still not back to cash flowing properly and achieving those really proper margins on their business. Next. And here's the breakdown as a pie chart over on the right that shows kind of the major business categories in Pacific Grove and the amount of sales tax that you're producing. You can see that the biggest is restaurants and hotels, but you know there's some good diversity there, which is a good thing to have. You're not totally dependent on one area. So I think that from that perspective, it's really good, but you can just see the different, the composition and breakdowns of sales tax revenue for the city. Next. And here's the top 25 sales tax producing businesses in Pacific Grove. These are not in terms of ranking, in terms of what they produce. This is in alphabetical order, but you can see, and you're all familiar with the businesses on this list, but these are the top 25 sales tax producers in the city. Next. So the big part of what we wanted to do was put together this action plan for some recommendations for small business recovery that really help guide Pacific Grove and working with your small businesses and getting that necessary recovery, both the short term and then longer term. And again, it's a critical time that they're seeing improvement, but we want to do everything we can to really help set the stage and take them to the next level so that they can really have that sustained recovery. So the first one is to establish a one-day a week economic development coordinator. And Laurel, the city's planner, has taken that role. I think it's been very successful in terms of her devoting one day a week to that, to really work with you know, potential developers, the business community, just the community as a whole, on any really possibilities for business expansion, new businesses that really have that kind of focus there locally. As part of that, we'll have the city also evaluate whether that's enough or that's too much time. And just adjust accordingly. The next point is to launch a dedicated economic development webpage, and I think the council has seen this in terms of what it's going to be. It's going to really have to provide that foundation, set the stage to have a proper web presence for Pacific Grove in terms of economic development and just really helping your business community. You know, hats off to the staff and for going ahead and putting this program together. There's a lot of people I know that have been involved in working with, really looking at some of the best practices out there that other cities are doing and trying to emulate that, but really make it fit for Pacific Grove. And so that's underway. And again, we're excited about that too. And I think that will really help. Next. Continue the city's facade improvement program. This has been really successful. They've done a couple of rounds of this. And I think especially in the downtown area, that will really help with the look of the facades in the downtown. And you've got a lot of, you know, really charming historic buildings is to make sure that they've got the proper look and you're setting the foundation and the stage for people wanting to come to your downtown. And so I think continuing that would be important. And then the parklet program. This is something that cities have been all over California have been facing with. A lot of them went to, you know, temporary outdoor dining, parklet programs when COVID hit, especially when restaurants couldn't have indoor service and all that. So they've had to react to it. The governor is going to go ahead and not have that extension of the emergency order to allow this. So we're working with a number of cities, and there's just a ton of cities that are out there that are trying to come up with guidelines and standards to continue with outdoor dining. California, I think we have an advantage in terms of having fairly good weather most of the year. And I think that's become just kind of the new norm, is having those kinds of opportunities. So it's having standards that are workable, not only for the community, but for your businesses too. Next. And then another thing that we're recommending, and I think you do a really good job, especially in your downtown area, is with special events, but to take it a step further, a lot of the really successful downtowns in California they really focus on special events. And so creating a music and restaurant event series for 2023 that provides some diversity to bring people, even more people to the downtown, have it be family oriented to where you're getting people to come down and see the really unique downtown that you have, and drawing people from other communities as well. And so I think to look to have 2 or 3 seasonal restaurant week events, and just have it and incorporate music into those kinds of things, to really emphasize what you can have and what you really do have in terms of your downtown, just to take it a step further. Next. And another thing, and we've done a lot of these programs. We did a lot of consulting work for 20 cities in California for American Rescue Plan Act. And we started doing a number of these digital gift card programs that became very popular, especially in California, but really across the country. And it's kind of a high-tech way to do shop local, which is that's really important now, is to help your small businesses and independent businesses especially attract business and get those consumers to shop in Pacific Grove rather than go someplace else. And so, a shop local program in conjunction with doing it with a digital gift card program is a really popular way to do that shop local. We're working right now with, I think we've done 20 of these with a company called EFD. They're based in Menlo Park. They're the dominant player in the country. And they've done, I think, over 150 or 170 of these in California. We've done about 20 of them with them. We currently have 8 that we're doing right now. And it's a really successful way to promote that. It's not a physical gift card, it's a digital gift card. Very, very popular. We've had some that we've started up before the holidays this year that have sold out. And we had a small city Angels camp up in the base of Sierra Mountains. They did a $50,000 program. They sold out in 4 days, and now they're doing a second phase. We've had just a number of them have sold out in a week to 2 to 3 weeks. And so I think this is a really popular way to shop, to promote that shop local, which is really important to help your small local businesses, but it also really helps your citizens too that are buying these cards. That they're offering bonus cards to them. They're using some of their ARPA money for that. It's a way where you can really structure a program that really fits the needs of your community, especially those small independent owned businesses. Next. And then another thing is just, creating that brand, that awareness that you can really, when people come to Pacific Grove, they see banners and signs that establish a brand, and it just offers some interest. It helps create that sense of place for your city, for your downtown, or for a commercial district. And I think there's a lot of different ways you can do that to really create that brand for Pacific Grove and build upon it so that people know and want to come back. Next. And then we're also recommending starting the business visitation program, and we've done this in a lot of cities, and it's a popular thing. You want to hear from your local business community. I think sometimes cities focus so much on trying to recruit new business that they fail to really work with their existing business community. And so I think having that visitation program where you have the city manager, you have Laurel, the economic development coordinator, city planner, you have a rep from the Chamber of Commerce, and then a person from the Economic Development Commission, be part of that group and do that visitation program. So you're regularly going out and meeting with your local businesses. You're listening to them, you're seeking their feedback, and you might be able to address an issue or two that they've got before they think that they maybe have to relocate to another city, or they're going to close their business. I think you want to be very active in trying to work with them and trying to help out with any kinds of issues that really make that environment the very best it can be. Next. And then continue to hold brokers luncheons. We helped put together a program, a broker lunch, right before the pandemic, and I think we had like 25 people come, and it was very, very popular. It created a lot of interest, and then about a month and a half later, the pandemic hit, and things really kind of went sideways. We were able to do another one here this past summer. And so it was another opportunity to bring together brokers that are very active in Pacific Grove, and then some of the property owners, some of the major properties, just to go ahead and again, it's sharing ideas, it's sharing feedback. It's a real kind of informal way to talk about what's going on, talk about issues, talk about opportunities that you can really help with existing businesses, but then bring in new ones. I know that new council member Debbie Beck was part of it when we did the first one before the pandemic, and she was part of the last one. So, and enjoyed having her be a part of that. But I think it was a great example of really getting that feedback with local brokers and real estate professionals. And we would advocate that the city continue doing those on a quarterly basis. Next. And then there are some vacant storefronts. Some of them have been used up and are being productive again. But there's still a few that the city's still working on. And so we are out with a request for interest, an RFI, to go ahead and see about making some of these spaces where they're kind of they're semi used until they can get a tenant into a larger space. And so bringing together a number of uses into kind of a collective or craftsman collective space or a maker space has been done in a lot of different places in California. I think that the downtown area especially would be a good example of this. And so as we've got this interest, this request for interest is open until the end of the year. And then we'll see what we get. And then we're going to go back to the Economic Development Commission, who was the one that really suggested doing this in the first place, and get their thoughts and ideas on where we go with this. Next. So here's a timeline that we're recommending. And so some of these things have been started since we did meet with the Economic Development Commission. But we want to have just kind of a regular cadence here of doing different things. If the Economic Development webpage is going, excited about that. It's the Parklet program. I know the council will be considering that. And then looking to do more broker events, and then do the planning necessary for that music and restaurant events. Banners and those kinds of things can be worked on in January. Established the business visitation program in February. Again, continuing on with the broker lunches on a quarterly basis. Mid-year, really evaluating whether 1 day a week is appropriate for the economic development coordinator position with Laurel, and see if that needs to be adjusted or tweaked. But then you see just continuing on with those quarterly broker lunches. And at the end of the year, really take a step back and see what we've done, and then make any kind of adjustments going on into 2024. Next.
That's the last slide.
Okay. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, we'll now go out to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak to this item, please come forward. Welcome.
Mike Gibbs, and I love some of the ideas here and the commitment. There's a couple of things occur to me. I've been a small business person, not necessarily here in PG, but for a long time, started up a couple of companies. And the startup process is, you don't know it's intimidating and how horrible it is until you decide you're going to do something. And then all kinds of things that you didn't know were going to happen are certainly going to happen. If you ever started a business or been involved in that, you know that. And one of the things we've been around and talked to a number of businesses, I hear a lot from small businesses. They don't know what they don't know until they find out they don't know it, but they don't know who to turn to, right? And so people ask me, can I go to the Economic Development Commission, or is there somebody in the city, in the city manager staff to answer these questions? So I think it would be a good idea. And I think we have a new economic development person in the PG, I think is a good start with that. But I'd like to see more of a mentorship or a coaching for people that already have businesses. There are many successful businesses here, and they have questions. The new ones have questions about marketing or PR? How do I answer customer complaints? What do I do? And if there was some kind of a mentorship program of a successful business, there are so many here in Pacific Grove that would volunteer, and maybe it's already here, to help out a small business like the Mustard Seed on Forest, and collaborate on some things, for example. So I think that'd be a great idea. I like the idea of the makerspace or the collective, the cooperative where people can come in and create new things. I think it's a great idea. And I know Peggy and I and other people we know would be willing to support that process, help, pitch in and volunteer, whether we were on the Economic Development Committee or not. So all I'm doing is just encouraging the small business, and anything that we can do to help, we're willing to do it. And so I think, thank the people for the work that they put in on this, and I hope it continues to go forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to see more coordination between this type of an organization this gentleman's presented here on this PowerPoint, along with representation from the Chamber of Commerce to work in cooperation with the city, even if there's maybe some support, some volunteers, maybe even some funding to facilitate more of a active and productive and helpful Chamber of Commerce along the lines of what Mr. Gibbs just suggested. Little mentoring, answering questions, helping out with small businesses, because it's easy to start a small business, especially if you have a wealthy husband. It's not always successful, and you don't always really know the answers to all your questions and how to facilitate a more productive operation. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on Zoom wishing to speak?
We do, Mayor. Andrew Kubica.
Welcome.
Mayor and City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. A suggestion is to add us to the trolley line. That trolley runs around all through Monterey. If they could just add us here and just, if you're on the trolley line. I was doing volunteer when we had that wine festival, and the bus came along and it was dropping people off from all parts of town. If the trolley came in and it went through downtown and went up down to Forest Plaza and then turned around and came back down. We were getting people from who were visiting hotels and or visiting in Monterey or visiting on the wharf, and maybe that would help us a little bit. I suggested this several years ago, and I was told that it was a certain amount of money. I'm sure it's a little bit more now, but considering what we were spending on some things, the additional money to add us onto that during the summer months wouldn't be so bad. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No further callers.
All right, council discussion. Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for the presentation. And also Mr. Foster, and I love seeing the new website, the updated website. So very appreciative of that. And then I guess my questions would be, and this would probably be to staff on Ms. O'Halloran, is if we as a city could get updates maybe monthly to find out what type of businesses are looking to come into Pacific Grove, how much communication is taking place, where they're coming from as far as off the website, walking in, those type of things, and get reported updates. And then also, could you explain a little bit more about the digital gift card and the cost? Would that be to the merchant, or would that be the ARPA money? Would that be a contribution from the city? We just want to know that. I do like the list of the recommended action items. I do think, having attended the broker luncheons, didn't take much away from those meetings, and it looks like you have 3 or 4 scheduled. I do always appreciate hearing the resident feedback. I love the idea of a trolley coming into Pacific Grove as well. And then also, and you've heard this from me over the last couple of years and this may be Public Works, but, in order to attract businesses, we have to have an appealing downtown as well. So there's some areas that I think we can improve on down there, and even up above on the Forest Avenue area as well. Because economic development is really just so important to our community, and having been involved with economic development as well, truly enjoyed being on that committee. So again, I think those things would be really important going forward. And then again, just the cost of those digital cards, knowing if it's to the merchant or if it's from the city. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Harvey. Do we have the agenda report says provide the Economic Development Commission with feedback. Do we have any members of the Economic Development Commission in attendance in this meeting?
We do not.
Okay. Councilmember Pedori.
Thank you. Here. I had a couple of questions as a follow-up to this. There was quite a few recommendations and some of these recommendations are for 2023. It would be helpful for the city, especially when you're recommending something for 2023, to also associate what the cost is related to that recommendation. So if there's any possibility to associate some kind of like cost associated with each item here, then that would be really helpful. The second thing I'd like to also comment is this says series for 2023. As you may know, the city operates in fiscal years. Again, we are doing a budget exercise, etc. And it would be helpful again if we had these recommendations in fiscal years rather than calendar years. But I appreciate all that has gone in to make these recommendations, and I look forward to seeing how we can implement this. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I think there's a lot of great ideas in here, and I think that we need to do everything we can up here to support these things moving forward. I think there's going to be a lot of things that have to happen in order for staff and the EDC, as well as the merchants and the chamber, to all work together on this. So I think it's going to have to be tied together. You know, it's going to be a lot of work on the part of staff and the chamber and the merchants to work together to try to implement some of these things. I think that's really important. So, but I support the public comment on, you know, if there is a need for funding or whatever support we need to give, then let's do that, and when necessary and when it makes sense, we can step in and help out. So, but thank you for the report, and appreciate everything everybody's doing on this.
Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you very much for the report. It's very informative, and appreciate all the ideas coming forward and also the ones from the public. I also think the idea of mentorship would be a good idea, especially for anybody who might be trying to start a new business, anything where you can have somebody who is experienced and can give you ideas and tips for how to be successful. I think that's a really great idea. And since our site is called Pick PG, I think that fits really well with that, because that gives them sort of a form of outreach almost, where they know they can get the support they need, which I think will make the city more desirable from that standpoint. And I really like the idea of helping current business as well, because it's so true that sometimes people struggle and don't realize that there's help out there or what help they need. And so I think that could help in that way as well. I was also wondering about the Gifty program too, and how exactly that would be implemented. I like the idea of having funds available. I think a lot of times we'd like to shop local, but sometimes the excess costs lead us to online. And I would always love to support local. So anything we can do to support that, I think, is a great idea. And I just wanted to, on the parklets, we got a lot of feedback today in the middle of the workday, and I didn't get to read all of them, but definitely the flavor is that the public greatly supports the parklets. And so I know we have an agenda item, I believe, coming up on that soon. And I just wanted to make sure that we're, I want to put out there the idea of addressing design and safety. So there's some kind of consistency, because I've also heard concerns about safety issues. And so just in the implementation of that, I'd like to bring those to the forefront. And also, if we do the music series, I was wondering if there's any way that that would benefit retail. I know most of the local shops close early, so I don't know if there's a way for them to partake if we do a music event that might be more in the evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I like the idea of the gift card too. I have a couple questions or have some questions on how it's going to work, how it's implemented. Maybe concern about older residents and how they might be able to take advantage of that program if it's only digital. I do like the idea. I like the idea Andy Kupika brought up about bringing back the trolley line. Perhaps we can find some sponsorship for that. I think, as I recall, Comstock through the ATC development was going to sponsor bringing that back. Perhaps we could ask the Pacific Grove Hotel or ask someone or some organization or business to help sponsor that. I think that'd be good. Regarding the draft and submission of a plan for a music/restaurant event series, who's going to draft it and who does it get submitted to?
Councilmember Coletti, through the mayor, the city council approves special events, and so it would have to go through the city council for review and approval.
Is that the plan or every event?
Well, good question also. It depends on how it is formulated. If it's a concert series, it would probably be brought forward as a package. One thing we are considering at the EDC level is possibly trying to do one small concert, gauge the success, and then see if that could lead to maybe something bigger. And that's something that the Economic Development Commission is considering at their next meeting, possibly.
Okay, thank you. I would like to see a trial because, we have gotten comments, emails from residents who live in the downtown. The downtown is not only commercial, it's also residential. And how the music affects some of the residents that are living there. So I think we need to be sensitive to that. I know music is a big, it's popular. I like music and it's a draw, but we do need to be mindful of our residents who do live there. And finally, the last bullet item I think of the report was we're going to evaluate the programs. I'd like to know what the metrics for success are. And if the city manager has some ideas on that, that would help us, I think.
Councilmember Coletti, through the mayor, maybe a good way to do that would be to draft those through the EDC and have them help us develop those. And then we could share that with the city council.
Councilmember Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. Barry Foster, excellent presentation. Appreciate that. Along with Kristen Hines, one of the things I have noticed downtown is it's correct me if I'm wrong, Laurel Helen is the point person, and I have seen her walking downtown, and which has been great. I think she's there one day a week, if I'm mistaken, Mr. Harvey. And I think it's a great start. I think with the weather conditions right now, it's probably we're in a little bit of a freeze. But in some of these ideas in the springtime when the weather gets better is plan now for the future. And but I do want to thank the staff for doing the being resilient on trying to get businesses involved.
I have just want to endorse a number of comments that I heard that I thought were really good. First of all, what could be done for a more attractive downtown, more trees. The sidewalks in places are uneven. And a number of the street lights, the poles are chipped and looking pretty old. They need some maintenance. I also heard a request for costs on each of the recommended items. I absolutely endorse that, and also where that would be in the budget, whether that would be this fiscal year or next. I also heard that we need to see, I know it's happening now, but to further endorse the strengthening between cooperation between the EDC staff and the chamber to work together. Several people spoke about forming a business mentorship program. That sounds quite attractive. Just turning to this, to the list of items, Ms. Kendall, could you put up the packet, page 171? It has the list of the recommendations. I want to quickly just scan through it. Oh, and thanks very much to Mr. Barry Foster and Kirsten Hines for their work in putting this before council. Could we put the packet, page 171, on the screen?
There.
Okay, 170, let's see, is that the time? Yeah, if you could scroll down, obviously we get only half a page on the screen. Thank you. If you could just go up to the title, just a few lines. Yeah, recommendations for small business recovery. I think it's maybe it's a nitpicking. It's I think a little misleading. You use the word recovery. We saw that the sales tax revenue for 2021 is the highest it's ever been. So on a macro basis, it looks like we've recovered more or less. Obviously, some businesses have been hit harder than others for the pandemic, but maybe the word recovery is not quite the right one. So the first one, established the 1 day a week economic development coordinator, and Laurel O'Halloran has already been filling that role, and that's already in our budget. So that's good. And we heard Nikita describe the new pickpg.org. That's number 2. So that's been launched. And if you go on it, there's a lot of information. It's good. Number 3. So this would be our 3rd year, I believe, of our facade program. And by all accounts, it's been very successful. So continuing. And as Councilmember McDonald mentioned, we're going to be talking about the Parklet program. Unlike perhaps another city on the peninsula, our Parklet program has considerable support. So, but we'll hear more about that. On number 5 and 6, the music series and the event series. So I heard of requests for more information. It says in partnership with the chamber. So I assume there's a lot of details still to flesh out. Who's going to be responsible for what? How much is it going to cost? I liked the music, not to be disrespectful, I'll call it the ad hoc music series that we used to have. The chamber had done during the summer, and I very much appreciated that. That would seem to be a low cost. So 5 and 6, definitely would like to hear more about it. Number 7, the YIFT digital card. How much money we're talking about? I think Mr. Foster mentioned $50,000. I don't know whether that was he suggesting that would be a pot of money for this. Yes, okay. And let's see, was that? And yeah, and he mentioned the American Rescue Plan Act funds. I think that's done for us. So that pot of money is not available. Number 8, banners. We've had banners I seem to come and go. We've had banners in town. for a long time, special different seasons, and I think they're good. I didn't hear any other council member talk about that, but I like the banners. I think that's good, sends a message to our visitors. So I hope that continues. And on the business visitation program, absolutely, number 9. Could you scroll up, Ms. Kendall? Yeah, talking to our businesses, absolutely good. Broker luncheons, I would add, it's for city staff, chamber, the EDC. Let's have some council members also sit in. So I would recommend inviting 2 or 3 council members to participate in that. And the number 11 seems to be space for ideas and outreach. So that's all good. The only other thing, let's see, want to bring up, and Mr. Harvey, thank you, Miss Hannah. We traded some emails this morning. The Economic Development Department budget is $125,000 for this fiscal year, right? And that includes Ms. Halloran's time on staff for the 1 day a week. It includes 38,000 for EDC funds for, so we should, when we come back and talk about these programs, we should hear what that $38,000 is that going to pay? Is that those funds intended to pay for some of these 10 items?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, it potentially could. The EDC has already expended approximately $25,000 of their 38.5 allotment. They have a small amount left, and they're considering how to allocate that at their next meeting in December. So I don't think that they will have any money remaining until July.
And what have they spent that money on?
The majority of it has been on the Women and Minority Business Grant Program. That was 2 grants for $10,000 apiece, and you will be getting recommendations from them as to potential awardees for that. The remainder of the money was spent on marketing for the pickpg.org website.
Okay, and then to that budget, apparently we need to move the $40,000 that pay for Mr. Foster and Ms. Hines for HDL Econ Solutions, to move that into that department budget. And also MCCVB fees, we have the hoteliers contribute, but there's also apart from the general fund. And so I believe the funding for MCCVB comes out of the council budget. Let's move that over. Let's put, all our economic development eggs in the Economic Development Department budget. Okay. And then we have the picture, the whole picture. And as you mentioned, to hear more about the Economic Development Commission, what they're doing. So we get the big picture. And that's my input. Okay. Moving on. Next one, cannabis retail license. That's mine, Ms. Kendall. If you could put up my slides, just a couple of slides. Okay, next, please. All right, I think most people know that the general election, the voters of Pacific Grove pretty resoundingly passed Measure M, which it was an advisory measure. Not creating the law, but an advisory measure telling all of us, city government, whether they wanted cannabis retail shop or not. The answer was yes. And so my purpose of bringing this forward is to hopefully demonstrate that, yes, the city council is listening to and paying attention to the will of the people. and that we are reacting in a quick manner. We're not sitting on our hands. So the big recommendation is to go ahead and direct the city manager and the city attorney to create a cannabis license program. That means that we need to put together an ordinance and approve an ordinance that allows the cannabis retail sales. So I'm looking for some head nods, some endorsement. I know some of us here, myself included, did not support Measure M, but now we've seen the results of the election, and I've already said that I personally would support the will of the people. So that's the big question tonight. And I don't think I'm not sure we need a vote for that. I'll defer to our city attorney if we do. And then there's 3 conditions, but Mr. Pierick, did you want to?
I
Do we need a vote?
think it'd be preferable if there was a motion to give us the direction that you're seeking.
Okay, and then I have 3 conditions for a license program. Next slide, please. So condition 1, the location would be determined, specific location would be determined following the award of the license. In other words, for an applicant to get a license, they don't have to either own a commercial property or have a lease of a commercial property in hand. And what this does is eliminates unnecessary expense that the applicants have to put out money for commercial real estate just to apply. And some, I'm assuming a handful of people at least will be interested, and that only one will get it. So they don't have to have this unnecessary expense. I think that's business friendly in my mind. And then, of course, in the ballot measure M, it was a buffer zone was a map was put in for 1,000 feet away from youth facilities. So if you're familiar with the map, it mainly points to commercial activities on Central near Monterey, or up the hill on Forest, surrounding near the Safeway area. So that's condition 1. Location determined after the award of the license. Next, please. So condition 2 is objective license conditions. So they're just spelled out on our website. These are the conditions applicants have to meet to be considered. So that would eliminate the need for a selection or evaluation committee. So everybody, the public, the applicants, council, we'd all know what the rules are for applying for a license. Makes it transparent. None of the discussions are going on outside of the public view. That's condition 2. And next. And condition 3 is assuming that there's multiple applicants that qualify, that the license is awarded by random draw. So that eliminates bias or favoritism by a potential selection committee. Everybody that wants to apply and is successful, meets all the criteria, has a equal basis of getting the award of the license. And then after that license, there could be conditions, other conditions about, what is an appropriate specific location outside of the buffer zone. I would expect that would be part of the license program that our staff would prepare for council approval. So that's what I have before you for your consideration. Let's go out for public comment. Welcome.
Been up before. Once in a while, in the honorable pursuit of public service that you all have taken on, you get to make decisions that are vitally important and also historic. And this is one. Make no mistake, once you license cannabis in Pacific Grove, there's no going back. No possibility of that. The upside is very small. The downside is terrible. I probably mentioned before that I'm a psychologist trained clinically. I've seen the other side of this. And if you've ever seen the treatment for this situation, cannabis, it's horrible. If you, I invite you, I'll take you to see it in person if you haven't. The upside is predicted an avalanche of cannabis cash. It's actually going to be a crash. Maybe you saw this article in the Monterey Herald last 2 weeks ago. 62% down in the amount of tax they've collected for this. People are asking for tax abatements. It's not going to be there. Right. One Pacific Grove Council member who wrote the voter guide promised $300,000 in tax revenue. Based on our analysis of what's been going on in Monterey County as a whole, the actual revenue will be roughly $59,220, right? The cost will outrun that income, police training, code enforcement, et cetera. The downside is terrible. We've heard from in this public school system, the ER docs at Montage. They came in talking about fentanyl. They had a handout about marijuana. They had 10 points that were wrong on the assumptions. There was a lot of misinformation during the election. I didn't think it was going to pass either, and it didn't, right? But there was a huge amount of wrong data out there. These docs from Montage, bring them back and to talk to them. They will tell you that 1 out of 6 kids under the age of 18 will develop an addiction called cannabis use disorder. The specialists will tell you that emergency visits here in Monterey County are up over 50% just due to cannabis overdoses, high potency cannabis, dabs, shatter, and wax. If you haven't heard those terms, check it out. I'll just tell you one quick story. Who visited the ER? His name was Johnny Stack. His mom, Laura, chronicled the descent into cannabis addiction. He ended up jumping off a 6-story building when he was 17 years old. A PG mom asked us, who has a kid in high school, why in the world would the city endorse a PG store to sell a product that we have told our kids is not safe and is addictive? Why would we possibly, as city moms and dads, say that this is okay? It's pretty cynical to tell the mom, it's just for the money, mom. It's just for the money, dad. My question is, what do you say? I'm almost done. What do you say to the PG moms and the mom whose kid threw herself off a 6-story building, right? And if they ask you, would you vote against this to save one life? I know, Mayor, to save one life, would you do so? And that's what I'm asking you. How would you answer this? And I think in your hearts, you know what the right answer is. And I'm calling on you to not license this program right now.
Thank you.
Put it out for further discussion. Thank you for Mayor. I apologize for going over, but you can tell I'm a little bit passionate about this. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for, I was not planning to speak. My name is Kelly, but given the serious nature of this, and I'm a mom of 2 children, 1,000 feet distance is very small. I think also the concern of this is, there's a new report that just came out. Between 2000 and 2020, reports to poison centers for child and teen marijuana use increased by 245%, according to a new study from the Oregon Health and Science University. The researchers analyzed more than 330,000 reports in the National Poison Data System over the last 20 years and found the increase in marijuana rates was the most of any substance, with the largest increase between 2017 and 2020. Our kids, after the last several years that they've gone through, are going through a very hard, difficult time. We've just had all of our fun events for Pacific Grove canceled, not rescheduled, and that should have been rescheduled. Kids need community events. They need a safe community. And when they're struggling with mental health and different things, this is going to be something too accessible. Otherwise, beyond this, in states that have legalized this, in cities that have legalized this use of dabs and all these things have gone up in pregnant and nursing women. So I ask you to please not do this.
Thank you. Welcome.
A little chilly in here, so I put my coat on. This is fine. Okay, when we had the fire department, the chief fireman come in with several of his supporting staff, and they made a presentation on which fire truck would be most preferable, the diesel or the EV. And I got up and said, you just heard from the experts, was the fire chief and some of his staff. And I said, what's there to debate? You know, I mean, you turn this out to the public. They're not experts. They're not psychologists. They're not medical personnel. Most of them are just kind of well-meaning people. Oh, I heard people say, well, you know, somebody's taking marijuana for health purposes. You know, it alleviates the pain. Maybe they have cancer and so forth. Well, you know, okay, that's one maybe legitimate thing. But does that mean that Pacific Grove should have the moniker of another pot city? What message does that send to the kids? And I don't know about you, but when I was younger, the drinking age in New York State was 18. You know how difficult it was to find an 18-year-old older brother to go to the liquor store and pick up a 6-pack of beer for you if you were only 14 years old. Same thing's going to happen with the pot shop. Kids are going to say, hey, my brother, my cousin, my uncle, somebody's going to go and pick up that pot for me. And, you know, of course, it's legal now, right? I mean, it's okay. Have you heard the radio commercial where the kids are in the car with the dad and the father says to the son, he says, hey, your sister's doing a great job as a new driver now, isn't he? And he goes, yeah, dad. And he goes, hey, it's okay to do pot now, right? Because they legalized it. And the sister says, hey, Toby, come on. That's, you know, that's not the way it is. And then she goes over all the problems. That's a radio commercial that's played over and over again on all the local stations. I don't know if many of you listen to the radio, but I hope some of the kids listen to that. And I hope that you realize this is advisory. Nobody's going to kick you off the council if you vote against this. This was advisory. You're not obligated to approve this. So think it over. Think about what Mr. Gibbs said. He's more of an expert. He's a psychologist. Talk to some people from CHOMP. Talk to some nurses who work in the ER. I've talked to some of my friends who work there. They say just about every other night they have somebody in there with a severe overdose from smoking pot. And it sends a bad message to the kids and the rest of the community, not just the kids. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed my talk. And have a nice holiday, everybody.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on Zoom that wishing to speak to this item?
We do, Mayor. Inga Lawrence and Doimer.
Welcome.
Thank you. I didn't know we were going to be listening to a complete rehash of the advisory vote, but obviously the advisory vote was a democratic process. Now, as far as the process of, you know, possibly coming up with an ordinance, I think that this one that the mayor has presented, I mean, I realize he's opposed to it, but I think that the one he has is the only way that it could have even been considered, because it is a fair and transparent and no bias and no picking and choosing and schmoozing. You know, this is now, if they can, if our legal and, you know, staff can come up with an ordinance that is, I don't even know if any operators are going to want to come into Pacific Grove, because it might not be profitable to them at all. As you said, I mean, there's so many now. They are so, you know, they're not getting the tax money and the this and, you know, all this pie in the sky is just kind of going out the door. That ship sailed. And so, you know, yeah, get an ordinance, get a process, see where it goes on that. Because obviously the advisory vote came in absolutely in favor. I mean, believe me, I'm not going to be probably not going to be visiting a pot shop in PG, but, you know, I mean, it's like, it's not rehashing over and over and over the same dead horse. And as far as psychologists and emergency room doctors, I mean, it's incredible how many different opinions you can get from very learned people. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Darla Vining.
Welcome.
Thank you, Sandra. For everyone else, I'm Darla Vining. I'm here to express the challenges ahead for the cannabis industry in 2023. I do acknowledge that Measure M has passed, but I want to emphasize how complicated this is from a financial perspective and an emotional perspective for those in the community that were hoping it wouldn't get to this. As it was explained just now in Mayor Peak's presentation, that the license is going to be given in a random draw, I still feel that my comment still applies, and Inga actually spoke to this just now, but realistically, it's still a bit too early in the game for Pacific Grove to expect any cannabis business to really make any money because of all of these cannabis investors are still in the investment phase. I'm quoting here from a cannabis equity researcher that it should be expected that it will take time for those investments to bear fruit in terms of actual profits. I think it's important for the city of PG not to get ahead of themselves right now and keep the data in perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further hands are raised, Mr. Mayor.
All right, council comment, council discussion, Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, I think everyone knows my position on this, but and thank you, Ms. Vining, for the call as well. I have a couple of questions. Can a retail license be sold to another cannabis owner if the original awardee does not find a location?
I think, and I'll let the city manager speak after me, but I believe when we discussed it last time, it was non-transferable. Is that right?
If I could just follow up on the mayor's comment, that it would depend obviously on how you craft your ordinance, but in the prior ordinance, that was how it was written.
And then also, I'd really like to know more about the cost benefit, especially the cost for law enforcement, because it is a restricted business, as I've mentioned over the years. And I think 3 years ago, when this was brought before council, it may have been profitable. I just don't see that happening for our community, and it may end up we're in the red because of the cost for training for law enforcement and supervision and those type of things because of it being a regulated business. So that's just my feedback. Thank you.
Councilmember Pedori.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going back to the PowerPoint presentation itself. Couple of thoughts here. Just from an objective license conditions, knowing that these are objective license conditions, once the evaluation process is over, I would believe that we would be able to determine who the best kind of vendor is, because these are objective in nature. So they will have technically a ranking. So my view is this condition number 3. I'm not really in favor of condition number 3 because we need to select the best operator. That is, in fact, our responsibility to select the best operator. And as part of so that selection process, my view is I totally am with the objective license conditions, but I do believe that we need to introduce or at least have some subjective elements with this ordinance because, for example, the operator who has the best, has the best working relationship with any other city or has done the best society kind of benefit in any other city. So these are, I would say, subjective conditions or not subjective conditions, but subjective elements that I think we do need to consider to determine the final operator. But otherwise, and actually on condition number 1, I would like to ask the city manager a question. Is it knowing that there's only certain parts of the town that the operator can actually have a location. If we were to award or if we were to provide a permit to an operator, how is the selection of the location, are we leaving that to the operator then, wherever they want, outside of the 1,000 feet?
Councilmember Paturi, through the mayor, if I understand the question correctly, I think you're asking me under the mayor's proposal, how that would work. Am I
Yeah.
understanding the question correctly?
Correct.
That's my understanding. So under the mayor's proposal, the license would be awarded and then it would be incumbent upon the awardee to find a location.
Okay, and my view is I'm fine with that. It may be in the city's best interest to also determine what location is better. So potentially associate the vendor and the location together. I know that maybe kind of like may or may not work out, but in general, I'm okay with condition 1 and condition 2, but I would say condition number 3, I'm not supportive of that. Thank you.
Councilmember Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we need to start off with, city ordinance when it first came out was 20.22, and it was pretty thorough. I read through it today. And I want everybody to know I was with the mayor in regards to against the cannabis. However, I've always said that I will support whatever the public votes for. And I think we need to start off with the ordinance explaining who, what, where. That's exactly what 2022 explains, because it talks about fees. It talks about the area where it could be placed at. It was very thorough, because then you have to talk about who's monitoring the gross receipts, security. That's all explained in that ordinance. So that might be the beginning in regards to that. In regards to the license awarded by random draw, the difficulty I have with it is if you finally find 3, let's say I'm using this as an example, 3 people that appear to be even, and you pick one and it turns out to be, shall we say, a flake. And that's why you need to start off with the ordinance, a thorough vetted ordinance before you begin looking at a cannabis retail outlet. That's my thought on it. 2022 was the ordinance number.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have a problem with a lottery selecting or essentially awarding the license. It obviously needs a lot more definition, but I'm not opposed to it. But a lottery is ministerial in nature. But it seemed that during your presentation, you were mentioning once the license is awarded, they go out and find a site, then at some point there's additional discretion taken by this or some kind of discretionary decision taken that would put conditions on the implementation or the citing of that license at some specific location. So that's who's going to be doing that. You know, who's going to be exercising that discretion? Would it be the planning commission, perhaps? Okay, that's fine. So if that's the case, I don't have, so it would be some kind of use permit, I guess, attached to the license that's been awarded. Okay. Once we just went through a lawsuit with short-term rental licenses, we won. And I don't want to see this type of license ever challenged as far as a vesting claim. And I would want the city attorney to be mindful of that, so that we don't have to go through any kind of litigation in that regard. You know, you hear it often incorrectly stated that Pacific Grove was the last dry town in California. That the Coast Weekly loves to just, you know, drone on and on about that. It's actually not true. In 1933, it was a ballot measure. The citizens of Pacific Grove actually voted, and this is right after the end of Prohibition, voted to for the sale of beer and wine. However, no one found one establishment that would be willing to sell beer and wine. So just because you permit its use or, you know, through ordinance allow its use, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to find an implementation somewhere. You have to find a property owner willing to actually engage. So there's a lot of things that happen or have to happen for something like this to take place, but sounds to me like the mayor's thought this pretty well through, and I have no problem with the recommended action.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Smith, and then Councilmember McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I think from a conceptual standpoint, I agree that with a few people up here, folks up here, my colleagues, that the vote's been taken and now the will of the voters is there. And the reason that we sent it to them was to find out what the will was. And the result of the election is in. So taking up the actual report itself and the recommendation, I think it's going to be a long road getting there. I think we're going to have some staff input on this. I think that I will not support condition 3. I don't like the idea of randomly licensing some outfit and then, you know, they get it. Oh, it's, you know, the lottery worked for short-term rentals was a little bit different. This is like, we're picking one out of a group. And I think we do want to get the best operator that we can. I personally would leave that task to staff to bring to planning commission or whatever, bring forward the applicant, because if I remember correctly, that's kind of the path we were going down when we first approved it. And then we went backwards, and then we went back to the voters, if I remember all that correctly over the last 6 years. So we're hearing a lot of comments in the audience tonight. Please let me just make my statements. So I think that so I'm not in favor of that condition 3. I think we need to have a little more control over this. And I think that's the best way that we're going to be able to pick the most responsible operator, is if we have that power. So, but again, that's where I'm at with it. And I'll leave it there.
Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you. I did have a couple of questions that may be a better starting point. So we're talking about choosing a location after we select someone, assuming that's the way this goes. But we also have restrictions on where that could be. And somebody brought up a good point about finding a business who's even willing to have an establishment in their location. So what I'm wondering is, would it make more sense to see, do we have a location it could be in, identify properties that would be willing to have an establishment, with the assumption that somebody who takes over, if somebody is awarded a license, that they would take over that location. So we have more say over where that happens. And I don't know if that's possible, but I wanted to throw it out there. But one of the things I haven't heard talked about, and I don't know if that will come up in the license conditions, but we haven't talked about the safety issues that are involved. So I would want to make sure that part of the discussion is that we are talking about some of the safety, because I just don't want that to be something that's ignored, because there are, potential concerns. And I know we've addressed that with the distance from the schools, and the best way to, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there will always be a way for people to get access to things. They're already doing that now, obviously, by the statistics. If there's a way that we can implement this in a way that enhances safety, that has restrictions on things like level of THC, if the problem is that levels are too high, do we have restrictions and safety measures in place and education in place to do that? And on the licensing by random draw, there's part of that I like and part of it that I don't. It's the idea that there's no favoritism played, which can be a good thing. But then I also think it's important to make sure that we have chosen the people who are best suited. And so I think that if we had measures in place, such as having a track record, like if assuming they've had a business before, do they have a track record of safety? Have they had good public outreach and education? Because that's, I believe, meant to be one component. And do they have they exhibited success before, so that we know that whoever we're bringing in is not only likely to succeed from a business perspective, but likely to succeed from being well suited for the community perspective. Thank you.
Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. I am in favor of condition 3. It is my understanding that the applications would need to be completed before a drawing would take place. So it would have to be a completed application. And I think it would be up to whatever questions are on that questionnaire or application would determine that, yes, they would go into the drawing. Because I am in favor of condition number 3. Thank you.
Someone would like to make a motion at this point? And I'm hearing very mixed. I'll state the obvious. So I'm hearing a very divided council on a random draw. So maybe we'll want to put that aside for now and tackle that question later. To defer that, that concept for later and go with the big recommendation, which is direct city manager and city attorney to prepare an ordinance and also to prepare a license program with objective criteria. What was the word I used?
So I had a question. The
Yes.
license program would be within the ordinance. Is that what your contemplation is?
That's what we had before.
Okay. Understood. And then the other point being, if you don't address the issue of how the selection is to be made, that's going to leave a big gap in the ordinance, because either it's going to be random or it's going to be some kind of a review process and a selection based on criteria. So without the answer to that question, it's going to leave the ordinance incomplete, which is fine. If that's what you wish, we can draft it as you've directed and then have that conversation at a future meeting.
And that sounds good to me, but Mr. Harvey?
Mr. Mayor, question also going back to the drafting of the ordinance, and we can draft the ordinance however you direct us to do it. But in the prior ordinance, there was a component that addressed the security plan for the location, and it was very specific for the location. And so I think you might want to think about having, it might be hard, is what I'm trying to get at, for an operator to give you what we want as far as a detailed security plan if they don't know where they're going to be located. Because we ask for drawings, we ask for very specific details that the chief of police can review to determine if it's acceptable from a security perspective.
Well, perhaps the license award can be conditional upon having an acceptable security plan.
That's fine.
That has to be approved by your staff.
Right.
For,
So as
for
long
example, but not a prerequisite.
fine. As long as you guys have that in mind, so that, that might have to come
Yeah,
later, because they can't give a detailed security plan until they know where they're going to be sited.
Right, that the security plan would have to be approved. So if, say, I'll just pick something, cameras, lights and cameras and bars on the window, what have you. If that's not in their security plan, that's presented to staff, then you would say, okay, the applicant has to do these things to make it safe.
I think more, sorry, if I could just add to that, more than that, we would want the security plan to be very, very site specific. So in other words, not just.
Yeah, it was site.
Right. So in
absolutely.
other words, we would want to see very specific details about the type of, protection here at this door and so that's fine. As long as we're understanding that, I think that we can address that. It just need, the security plan has to really address the location.
Yeah, and I'll just echo Councilmember McDonald made a comment. A friend of mine is property manager, not in Pacific Grove. And he's been approached by cannabis retailer, and it's just like, I just don't want to do it. So not every commercial property owner is going to be happy about that. Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would we have an expiration date? So the awardee, if they're not able to find a location within 6 months or a year, we would have an expiration date then, so it could go to the next.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand, Mr. Pirrick, your reservations about having a hole in this, but this is a pretty good topic. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion, even if we have this hole in it. And so that's why I'm thinking maybe we could just go forward if.
Well, we can just leave a placeholder in the ordinance that will.
Or some option.
We'll address the issue of selection. And if you want some options, we can check for some ordinances from other cities and provide those to you so that you could compare them.
Councilmember Emilio.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I keep harping on that the ordinance has to be first. And then some of those gaps, Mr. Pirrick, is that we may be able to fill in. And I don't think this is going to be an overnight decision. It's going to be a length of time before we could actually flush it out. I think that's important.
All right. How about a motion? Councilmember Coletti.
Yeah, and thank you, Your Honor. And as far as condition 3 goes, I just want to speak to that real quick. Because it says because we're talking about a hole in the ordinance, I don't think I think we can give direction to staff. The hole doesn't necessarily have to be as massive as we might be imagining. Condition 3 simply says ensures personal bias is not a factor in the award of a license. Who wouldn't agree with that? So the question is whether the lottery is the right way to achieve that. Perhaps it's not. Perhaps there's some screening up front. You think you've got them all on an even playing field, and then you do a lottery. Who knows? But I think condition 3, as stated, is enough direction for staff to understand what we'd like to see. And no one wants to see bias, so I think that's clear. And as far as the enforcement component, that's gonna, there's a 2-step process: award of the license and then citing the actual license through a conditional use permit via the Planning Commission. That enforcement plan would probably be, integrated into the discussion at that point. So with that said, I'm just going to move the recommended action.
Okay. Okay, the recommended action, except number 3 needs to be changed.
Well, I would simply say number 3 would follow condition 3, and that the license would, the issuance of the license or awarding the license would not have any potential for bias.
Mr. Harvey, questions?
I'm sorry to keep interrupting. Last time when we embarked upon this effort, council gave us the ability to have some consultation with HDL. In fact, they helped us put together that last ordinance. I'm just wondering if you would also consider allowing us some type of subject matter expertise.
Mr. Harvey, within your budget, you always have.
Okay, I just didn't
you
want
Use
to,
HDL frequently, as we've
Well,
seen tonight. So-
but you're aware of what I use them for as far as sales tax, and this would be a different endeavor. So I
and-
just want
and-
to make council comfortable with that.
And
And it's
I
a
hope we
different
don't have
division.
to, and I hope we don't have to pay for the same advice that we got 2 years ago.
It'll be
um,
different.
Okay.
Well,
Right.
so, yeah,
Yes.
again, condition 3 speaks to point 3 in the recommended action, I think, so. Perhaps let's substitute license awarded by random draw, license awarded in a way that does not include any personal bias. Or if you got better language, Nick, I'm happy to.
I'll second, but I gotta say, I would just eliminate 3 because we're clearly not gonna use personal bias as a method of determining our operator. And I think I would probably just eliminate 3 because it does kind of imply that we're gonna do some kind of random draw, which I don't think we should do. So I would just second it and ask for an amendment that we just go with the rec minus condition 3.
Okay, that's fine with me. Subject to later discussion.
Second.
All right, Mr. Purick, Mr. Harvey, are you clear on that?
Yes, and as I understand it, on condition 3, you want options and like to see some examples of what some other cities have done with respect to the selection process.
Yes. And I think you heard the intent.
Yes.
I've heard support of the intent of number 3, but not specific.
Yeah, well, that's
okay.
That's how I view it, Mr. Harvey.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I think ready, a vote, please.
Councilmember Coletti,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Spadari.
Aye.
McDonough. Aye. Beck,
Aye.
Emilio.
I just have a question before I answer that. We are eliminating number 3. Am I correct? Okay, aye.
And Mayor Peak.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, thank you. We flew past Ms. Hallaby. We flew past our 8 o'clock. We did have 2 brief breaks. Does anyone want to take a break at this point? We still have one item. This is our solar, excuse me, our questions about the museum roof repair. Okay, I'm not hearing anyone wishing to take a break. Welcome, thank you. So the former item 9C. Welcome, Ms. Alabi.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you tonight is an award of contract with Scudder Roofing for a Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History roof repair project in an amount not to exceed $49,285 with a 20% contingency. This was an item that was previously on the consent agenda tonight, so I don't have a presentation for you, but the agenda report contains all the relevant information, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I do want to reiterate, it's a fairly standard roof repair project that was approved as part of the capital improvement program. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
Mr. Kubica pulled it and he is, I believe, wanting to speak.
The mayor and city council, thank you for letting me speak on this item and thank you for allowing me to pull it. Maybe I should have spoken in public forum at this. I am not against approving this item. I think it is great that we're fixing our roof. And my main concern today is that today is December 7th, 2022. This item was in the budget for 21-22, which is 18 months ago since the start of the 2021 budget. This is the second rainy season that we've had since this item was put in a budget. Apparently there is a leak in the roof. Apparently there's a leak in several roofs. including the one over at Chautauqua Hall. There has been inflation and supply chain issues since the start of the 21-22 budget, which has increased the cost of this item. And that was, this is evidence of this because it was brought in that we need to increase the cost. The completion rate of CIPs presented on the council on November 16th for fiscal year 21-22 fourth quarter was 59%, 59.9%. Completion rate for the first quarter of 22-23 is 5.4%. Repairs performed in a timely manner save the city money and allow for other repairs in the city, such as city roads, sidewalks, roads, repairs to Chautauqua Hall, the 10 burned out lights that are on Forest Avenue between Candy Cane Lane and Pine Avenue, painting and maintenance of the downtown light poles, which was mentioned by the council person earlier. There's a trash bag hanging from the front of the firehouse, which has had a repair order on it since at least June of 2022. It has not been repaired. I was just told recently that a contractor would be out there soon. The budget for the 22-23 budget has item CIP 2317, which said there's a need for a partial roof repair because of a water leak on the wood floor, and buckets and trash cans were being used to catch this RFP. This item was put there before we approved the 22-23 budget last June. So staff knew that there was leaks on the roof. The RFP was not released for this until September 26th of this year, with a closure of 2022. So we have a leaky roof. We go through a rainy season. We started a rainy season. We don't put an RFP out till it's almost time for the rain, and we haven't started it. I'm sure that if your roof was leaking and you knew it, you and I would have repaired it before during the slow season when we could get a contractor at a cheaper price. As a city, we can do better for our residents. I request that we get a schedule together when we have high value, important items that need to be repaired, and get them repaired in a more expeditious way, so we don't have to increase the items and we can save some money and repair some of the additional items in the city. Thank you very much. And that's why I pulled this. So please repair our infrastructure.
Any other public comment?
No further hands are raised.
Council discussion? Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I have a question, Ms. Hallaby. Was there an updated estimate since this one was dated August or closed in August of 2022? So it's about 5 months old.
This is the current proposal that was submitted, and this is the contract that we're attempting to award tonight. So that would be the cost.
Okay, and when was that dated? I just want, because costs are going up for so many things. That's why I want to make sure. And it was awarded, or was it just proposed that we would accept that estimate?
So the item before you tonight is to accept the estimate and award the contract, and that proposal was received on August 18th, 2022.
Okay, so a couple other questions I have. The existing roof is how old, do you know?
I believe it was constructed in the 70s.
In the 70s. Would the city, this is just something because of the cost just for the repairs, and it's just kind of not a minor repair, but you have the entire roof still that could have issues down the road. Has the city considered changing the material of the roof, because those type of roofs are very expensive?
We've not considered changing the material. I will say that originally this project was scoped out to be more of a spot repair. And then as the rainy season came, we identified additional leaks and decided to enlarge the scope of work to repair that entire section of the roof above the bird room, which is why we requested additional funding through the budget process, put out a formal RFP. All of these items extended the timeline. That's some of the background.
Okay, because I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be great if we had a couple of other estimates to replace the roof, not necessarily with the clay roof or the tile roof, just to get an estimate.
Is that a question of staff?
Yes.
I might just jump in to the mayor real quick. One other consideration that council needs to make is the roof matches that of the library is going to also match that of the proposed PG Hotel. And that was part of when that project was approved, was it fit into that area. So if you look at a different roof type, whatever it is, you'd want it to look like clay roof that also matches the library, that matches the proposed hotel. That's just a consideration.
Thank you.
Councilmember Coletti.
Thank you, Your Honor. First thing I'm struck with this agenda report is that the two bids are so different. Did you follow up with them and ask why one was so expensive? Like why Belloc came in at 154,000 and then Scudder came in at only at 49,000? What would have, is there any explanation for that?
Councilmember Coletti through the mayor. I don't have a specific answer, but I would imagine it would be some contingency costs associated with the potential breakage of the tile since it is a sensitive material and they will have to remove and resalvage the tile. So I imagine that's a factor there, as well as labor and other costs that they factor into their base bid.
Okay. Is the roof decking okay, by the way? There's been some.
We believe so.
Okay. Well, speaking to Mr. Kubica's point about prioritizing CIP projects, I think that's a very valid point. But I just see no reason not to approve this contract tonight.
Councilmember Emilio.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract authorizing an agreement with Shoto Roofing for the Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History Roof Repair project, and then not to exceed the amount of $49,285 plus a 20% contingency.
Second.
May we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Farrell,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith,
Aye.
Pink, Councilmember Speck,
Aye.
Aye, and Pederi.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Now that brings us to agenda item 15A. It's Mr. Pyrick. Would you give us the agenda item? We going into closed session.
Yes, we are going to go into closed session. The item is public employment. This is authorized by Government Code Section 54957. The title is City Manager Performance Evaluation.
Do we have any public comment?
It does not appear we have anyone in person, and I do not see any hands raised here.
All right,
Online.
we'll now move to closed session and we'll do a report out at the next regular meeting.